Microphone check, yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I did not mean to keep you waiting. That's on me. And I'm not even muted. How about that? Sorry. Oh shit, there I go off the screen. I just wiped myself off the screen. Sorry, I had a unexpected phone call come in. I'll tell you guys about it a little bit later. Potentially some cool stuff happening. That's all I can say. We'll see. Good to have everybody here. America's still happening, so that's cool. We're not underwater yet. That's pretty cool. Woke up this morning. Also, I didn't realize we dropped the flag to half mast for the Pope. I didn't realize we did that. I was very confused when I saw the flag at like our community center was half mast. Very surprising. Did not know. Don't tell me boo on the Niners hat. How dare you? I got a lot of stuff to cover today. Some really good stuff. I first want to tell you, B did a great job finding a bunch of clips that I hadn't seen. So this morning I kind of scrapped my outline in favor of a lot of stuff that B showed me. I think you guys are going to like what we have today, and hopefully it's a little different than some of the other things you've seen. Jay, early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable. That's that's fair. That's fair. I'm sorry. Reminder tonight. That we are live with Admir. You're gonna see way too much of me today. I don't know what Admir has in store. I know he's been out there arguing with conservatives on the daily. I saw yesterday somebody was calling him a Democrat, and you hate to see it. You really hate to see Admir being called a Democrat, but he'll live with it. So we'll be there tonight. Jen, is it 5:45 Pacific?
Thanks for the sub.
I don't know if Jen's
Yeah, it's 5:45.
Good morning.
Good morning.
While you're here, would you like to do some announcements?
Sure.
All right. So much energy this morning.
You give me anxiety. You realize that, right?
I know, because you had to watch the chat while the music went, and they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah, it's gives me so much freaking anxiety. It drives me nuts. I've got borderline OCD, I'm pretty sure, and
there's nothing borderline about your OCD, Jen. You illegally crossed the border. You're up north looking to cross another border. There's nothing borderline about. Yeah.
I'm 100%. Yep. Anyways, so yeah. So we're here every day, Monday to Friday, 9:30 to 1, even though Jay likes to do whatever he's gonna do.
Hold on, you know the real story.
I know the real story, but
this one's not that. Yeah. This one's not really my fault, correct? Go ahead. Say it, Jen. Say it, Jen.
No, because I can't. Because I'm not saying it's kind of not your fault. Because kind of, I mean.
Well, the timing of why I was late was not my fault.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure, I'll give you this one for now. But yeah, so yeah, so we're here 9:31 Pacific time each day, Monday to Friday. As you see in the top left-hand corner, we've got a gift goal that we need to knock out by the end of the show, so we can keep the lights on, so we can keep doing this each day, and so Jay can likely put me into an early heart attack or something along those lines. So if you guys could help us knock out
that's the goal.
That would be fantastic. If you haven't already subscribed to us on Twitch, please do so. We uploaded a couple new emotes. We're trying to bring some more over there, and I'm looking into adding some over on to YouTube, some new fun ones. Let's see if you want to subscribe on Twitch, you can get some new emotes to use. Also, please subscribe on Twitch. You can like the stream over there, and we also have 4 memberships you can go through. You can also check out our link tree or on most social media platforms. So if you want to see other places, if you prefer other places, we're all over So if you guys could also interact with some of our content on YouTube, that would be awesome. We're posting videos most days, and so if you guys could like, comment, share, whatever it is over there, that would be great. And if you guys would like to talk to RTP, how you do that is you look at the Venmo username. So Jen, JENN.DUBB, the number 1. That's my Discord username. So if you want to disagree with Jay, like most of you do, because you scream in the comments.
Hi.
That's how you do that. Message me on Discord, and I will add you in to talk to Jay. That's how that's done. So once again, we've got the gift goal. If we can knock that out sooner rather than later, I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, what generation did Forrest Gump belong to?
What generation of Forrest Gump? I don't know.
Gen A.
Oh, it played out. It cut off your joke. Gen what?
Gen A.
Oh my god. That one I liked. I liked that one.
It was funny. He used to call me that when I was younger. Jen A.
I liked that one. Thanks, Jen. All right, Jen. She didn't back me up hardly at all. Cam says, nice MAGA hat, dork. Fuck you, Cam. How about that? Nice MAGA hat to you. Your voice is a MAGA hat. Scott says, it's Tuesday, isn't it? I don't know. Are we making fun of my hat? Is this a British joke? I don't even know what that... Or did I say the wrong day? I might have said the wrong day when we started it. Did I say Monday? That happens. All right. Let's kick things off in Tennessee. Look, if Tennessee's a crazy place. If you live in Tennessee, it's chaos over there, but it's got to be entertaining. This is Representative Monty Fritz. I'm not even going to preface this video. I just want you to know that he is concerned about feelings. He's very concerned about legislating feelings, and you'll never guess whose feelings he wants to protect.
I think that we have overused this word gun violence. I think that that we have
the often overused word gun violence. Why don't we? Can we come up with some other words for gun violence that sound less menacing? Pew 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 pew. Like what word do you want us to use, sir? What word would you like us to use? I'm sorry. I think the problem that it feels overused might have something to do with all of the violence, all the gun violence, and there's stories every day, and I think it's overused because maybe the guns are being overused. Maybe that's the problem. Representative Monty Fritz.
Sometimes substituted that phrase.
Misplaced lead dispersion. Cav said Jay sniffs bicycle seats. I appreciate that. Roman hole punching. Yeah.
Holding accountable that evil person who has committed an evil deed. To be honest with you, colleagues, if I were able to do so, I would prohibit the use of that useless phrase on this floor.
It's useless. Gun violence. What a useless phrase. Why do we even bring up the fact? It seems like because we use that word so much, some people are starting to think guns might be the problem, and I don't like that one bit. Some people seem to think in their mind that a mass shooting event like Florida State would have been harder to commit with a baseball bat. Some people are starting to think that way, and I don't like the implication.
Again, to my friend from Shelby County, this is not directed at you, sir, and you know that.
Someone said, who was it? Big Steph fan said I would lose it if I was in that state house. Well, guess what? you wouldn't have been alone. Because there you go.
I would just offer this, that sometimes these well-intended things become attacks on our Second Amendment. And often the use of that phrase, gun violence, becomes...
The First Amendment is now... Do you even know we have an amendment civil war going on? The First Amendment is at odds with the Second Amendment, and now they're attacking each other. We're probably... Because the First Amendment and Second Amendment are attacking each other, I think we might start a war in Yemen. I think that the logical set, maybe we go back to Iraq if these two amendments can't settle down. Yeah, you're right, Ebenezer. You're 100% right on that.
It's an attack on the lawful gun owners of Tennessee who do all the right things, who play by all the laws and all the rules that we have on the books. And I would offer that it's important for us.
Hang on, Representative Fred. Stop the clock. There's an objection.
Looks what? Who could object to that? We're just protecting the feelings of these mass shooters. Who could object to that?
Hang on. All right. Overruled. Continue, Representative Fritz. Just make sure you try to stay more narrow in the bill, even though the previous one went outside a little bit. Representative Fritz, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My apologies if I went outside any. I would just offer this, that we do often use that phrase. We overuse that phrase, and sometimes it becomes a crutch for us that's not going to do any good in prosecuting these evil people that do these evil things with firearms or ball bats or knives or anything else. And it becomes a tendency.
I forgot that he said that. I forgot that he said it's not fair. It's not. Everybody's demonizing these guns. Nobody's talking about the mass bat unalivings across college campuses, and I don't think that's fair to the guns' feelings. I don't know. It seems like to me, Tennessee, maybe guns just commit crimes at a higher rate. Maybe it is the guns. I don't know.
Sometimes for us to attack the gun ownership rights, and while again,
yeah, correct. Yeah, it does. Sometimes we see somebody get a weapon or a gun. I can say that here. We're on YouTube. Sometimes somebody gets a gun. Like I was watching Brett Cross speak. I think it was, I don't know what county Uvalde's in, but I was watching his comments the other day. In fact, fuck that. Let's just pull it. I'm just going to pull it up. I'm going to find it because Brett's going to do a better job than I am on this. And shout out Brett. I don't know if he's here, if he ever comes around here, or if he's just mostly on TikTok. But if you don't know Brett, Brett's
and isn't actually
what in the world is that? Brett's son was lost in the Uvalde. It was shot, killed in the Uvalde school shooting. And this was Brett speaking before. It looks like the Committee on Homeland Security. Oh, okay, that was even bigger than I thought. Here's Brett Cross in his words.
So you registered as Brett Cross, testifying on behalf of yourself and against the bill. Is that right, Mr. Cross?
Yes, sir.
All righty, proceed.
My name is Brett Cross. My son Uzziah was just 10 years old when he was shot to death at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. You see, the shooter had tried and failed to purchase a firearm illegally for many years. Because Texas wouldn't do anything about the age for ARs, just days after his 18th birthday, he walked in and bought actually 2 ARs and hundreds of rounds of ammunition, and walked out with the power to end 21 lives. Had he not had the ability to purchase those firearms, he couldn't have killed my son. And now this body is considering whether to make it even easier for people that age to arm themselves with handguns. Like, if 18-year-olds are not emotionally mature enough to legally rent cars, buy alcohol, gamble, buy tobacco, then why in God's name are y'all willing to gamble with our children's lives by contemplating that they should be able to purchase the firearms? Plus, how many 18-year-olds do you see here asking for the capability to? Handguns are the most commonly used weapons in suicides and homicides. Giving easier access to them in an age group already at higher risk for violence and suicide is not just irresponsible, it's downright reckless. All it takes is one moment of rage, one moment of despair, one wrong decision with a gun to shatter families, schools, and communities forever. And you know that.
It's who they want to shut down. They want to shut down people like Brett. They don't want Brett to be able to come in and compare the difference between regular violence and gun violence and show like the disparity between the two. They don't want this to be heard because, like you said, they say, well, it tramples on the freedom. Well, this administration doesn't, and this Republican Party doesn't seem to give a goddamn about freedoms. They are actively silencing and suppressing speech all over the country. They are demanding that universities speak how they want to. They told us we got to call the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America, and if organizations don't adhere to that, they can't have press credentials anymore. This is the most openly hostile administration to the First Amendment that I've ever seen. I mean, every time Trump gets in office, the courts rule against him because he tries to silence the press. And the press is part of the First Amendment. You saw Pete Hegseth yesterday just rail on the press. all they want to do is have people stop telling the truth because it fucks up all their shit. And when people meet Brett Cross, who looks like he's like just came out of a biker gang, and you say, this is a guy, certainly this is a guy who's on my side. This looks like a guy who would be voting with me. And then Brett Cross says some shit that makes sense. Rather than make sense of it, they're like, I think he should have to choose different words that are less impactful. I don't think you should be able to specifically name the weapon. Even if one weapon is so often used that it's like it's the nickname. Like the nickname is like the school shooting gun. Like people call it. That's what they know it as. Most people that know about AR-15s, that's the extent of what they know about AR-15s. Is that it's the weapon of choice in mass shootings. And I know that there's gun nuts here, and there's people that understand guns that don't agree with that. And I'm not saying that that's all it should be known by. I'm just saying most people, that's what they know it by. And so because that seems to be problematic for this idea that having the right to own a firearm should be completely unchecked, because we're starting to win that argument. You saw Pam Bondi when she first sat down in this administration. Her and Trump said domestic abusers are going to lose their rights to a firearm during the time that they are accused before trial. The police will be allowed to take their Second Amendment rights away without due process. Even they understand it. Everybody understands the need for this. But not everybody has their pockets lined by the NRA. That's what I think frustrates me maybe the most about these conservatives, is every conservative that argues this is like, I'm a responsible gun owner and I don't want my rights taken away. I can own an AR. Cool. If you're a responsible gun owner, it should be pretty fucking easy then for you to pass the tests required. And you shouldn't, I don't know that we should be complaining about the fact that there's tests to make sure that somebody who gets a weapon is mentally fit to have a weapon. I don't know why that's such a divisive topic, but that's what's happening in Tennessee. I'll finish this off.
I think that all of what we're aiming here for, Mr. Sponsor, are good things. I can't support it because I think that we're getting into that area that it's detrimental to the law-abiding Tennessean. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Free speech is detrimental to the law-abiding Tennesseans. That's where we're at, That's where the Republican Party's at. Your ideas don't work. Nobody will vote for your ideas. Even the people that voted for Donald Trump would not, like, if you went down a ballot initiative, you wouldn't vote for most of the things Trump is doing. Like, only the diehards, the ones that are here, I know you guys would. But the average Trump supporter, I talk to them all the time. I talk to creators from the other side of the aisle, behind closed doors, all the time. And I promise you, we agree on like 90% of everything. Including guns, almost all of them. This is a 95-5 issue that we can't get past. It's wild. Byron Donalds held a town hall, and God bless him. Look, I do want to say this to give credit to Republicans. If you are a Republican right now, and you are holding a town hall, I applaud that. I think that you are more brave than many of your counterparts, and I hope you keep doing it. And I'm not sorry that you're getting yelled at. I think you deserve to be yelled at, but I applaud when people like Byron Donalds actually go. They don't take telephone calls that are scripted. They don't go like Marjorie Taylor Greene and pre-screen all the questions. I like the people that have a real town hall. I'm going to sneeze.
Don't move. Are you ready? You ready for the other half of it? The previous president, President Biden. So you don't.
Good Lord, I did it. Oh, I was killing it too, guys. I was killing it. God damn it. God damn it. How many days? That was a lot of days. It was the sneeze. The sneeze was my downfall. Son of a bitch. Thanks, guys. Yeah, okay, so I was just explaining the question. The question that he was asked was about the Doge kids and them getting access to our data. And, of course, the reason they're booing is because his first response was, I'm going to tell you about Joe Biden. Somebody's going to have to give me a better explanation of what these kids were doing and why Russia got access to it. I don't know how anybody can draw any conclusion other than they're working with Russia. There's no other explanation for why, when you knock down all the security features, you create new logins, 15 minutes later, Russians are using those new logins and those new passwords, and they're logging in, and you see that massive freedom spike of outgoing data. This administration is moving at such a frantic pace that legitimately every morning when I wake up, I'm like, which fucking thing am I going to talk about that would have ended any other administration? This is one of them. Richard Nixon had to step down because some of his friends snuck into the DNC and tried to get some documents, and that's it. And then he lied about it. And then the whole country basically was like, you got to go, dude. You got to go. Trump does that. This administration does it once a week. Once a week, they do something that, like, Nixon's got to be, like, looking up from burning in hell, like, what the fuck? My guy showed up at the wrong time. This is the best time to be a Republican politician. No matter what you do, you get to blame the media. Exact same thing Nixon was doing, by the way. He literally just called them fake news media all the time. He went after Bob Woodward. Ironically, the same guy Trump goes after. Oh, Bob Woodward, he's such a liar. It's like it's the same journalist. It's the same attack. It's the same left-wing bias nonsense that we hear all the time. That's why they're booing, though. Here's Byron Donalds now trying to put out his bullshit about Joe Biden.
So you don't want to hear, you do not want to hear the full story. You don't want to hear the full story. Allow me to educate and bring you the full story. And when you're ready, I'm going to tell you, because I don't want you to yell and not hear the full story. Because I'm not listening.
Okay. Fair enough. You're only telling part of the story. Tell the full story. Somebody explained to me how it's going to be hard to hear, but what he's going to talk about is there's this Republican line that's going around. You guys are going to hear it, that Biden hired 53 unpaid interns to do exactly what Doge did, to get the same access that Doge did. That's not true. The Social Security Administration had interns, 53 of them. Social Security Administration has always had interns. And those interns were given a certain level of access. No, I don't think so. Certain level of access, and some of that information would have been sensitive. There is no evidence that they downloaded that data. There is no evidence that they gave a backdoor to Russia. This isn't the whole story. The story isn't that these kids were college age and worked for the government. And this is how Republicans played this goddamn game, and I wish we could get more of you to see through it. What's the story here? Is the story that these kids are college aged and worked there? No. The story is that they got into data that they were not supposed to get into. They downloaded that data, and it appears so did Russia. That's the story. So Byron Donalds now is going to play whataboutism in like the weakest way. Like, hey, guess what? Over here, there were also some college-age kids that worked under the Biden administration. And that's enough for some Republicans. They're like, oh, yeah, total hypocrisy. That's not even hypocrisy. Those are just two groups of people that happen to be in similar age ranges. That's it. That's the only thing that's similar here. But here Byron Donalds try and justify it.
I'm going to tell you the full story. Here's the full story. The previous administration, Joe Biden, he authorized 53 students to have access to the same database during his administration. 53. He authorized 53 students to have access to the Social Security database. And I didn't hear anybody being upset when Joe Biden authorized.
Yeah, because nobody's upset that that there were college students that were accessing it. See what I mean on this, like this both sidesism is such total. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. It's complete and total bullshit. Nobody's upset that young people are working in the government. That's not what anybody's upset about. And I don't know, maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe he's not bright enough to know that. I don't know. I don't know a great deal about Byron Donalds, except for that he's just always running interference and always playing whataboutism. That's a terrible whataboutism. And what's worse to me about people doing is the confident whataboutisms. This one, because he'll sell it to people. You know what I mean? Nobody cares. Like, you ever have a door-to-door salesman come to your house and they're just like, hey, like we have solar ones, pest control. If a pest control salesman comes to my house, even though there's no soliciting in our neighborhood, if he comes to my house, he's just like, hey, I'm out here selling pest control. Here's my price for pest control. If you guys need some, I can set you up now. You can give me a call. I'd be like, all right, cool. Take his card. If I needed pest control, I'd take it. The one I hate is the one that like won't shut up about it after. Like, nah, dude, I'm good. Oh, well, who's your pest control? I used to do door-to-door sales, so I was that annoying guy. And we would be trained all the time, like, just keep going and just be confident. When they tell you no, just pretend you didn't hear it and push through. That's what like being a good Republican is at this point in time. The best Republicans are the ones that just don't answer questions and push through confidently. Because there isn't really anything that they can say to defend this. If this was easily defensible, you wouldn't have to go to whataboutism. That's like kind of a last resort argument, right? Like if you were a Republican and you were arguing with me, like saying like Joe Biden's way too old to be president. If I didn't want to admit that, which was true, he was too old to be president. If I didn't want to admit that, my best argument is, well, you guys chose Trump, so it's apples and oranges, right? And then we would get down on the details, and we did this. So like, who's dumber? Who is showing more signs of age? And we would have that argument, right? But this isn't one of those cases. This is apples and oranges. There's nothing to compare here except for the age of the people. But he says it so confidently that that's enough for like 90% of MAGA. That's enough for them. Just confidence.
So how can you be upset when it's that versus Elon Musk?
I do think Bernie might be too old to be president, in all fairness.
That is not true. Again, if you're going to have a conversation about policy, then answer the question. Chanting is not going to let me answer the question. Donald Trump authorized Elon Musk to have access. I agree with that. Do you know who else agrees with him? Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden gave similar access to 53 students during his administration.
I would just say, like, if that's your best argument, you're not in a good place. Again, there are people who nobody's going to hear that argument and be compelled. MAGA's going to hear that argument and they're going to say, well, that's enough for me not to care. And then most people who aren't political are going to be like, wait, what? That's not the same. Or people are just going to say they don't care. But there's no argument there that these are the same things. I feel like Republicans currently are arguing against like everything. Everything. They're arguing against themselves. They're arguing amongst themselves. They're arguing about their former politicians. They're arguing about their former opinions. It's just like every day is nonstop hypocrisy. It's got to be exhausting to be a Republican at this point. Are you guys tired, Republicans, or no? Are any of you guys tired? Let's see. I want to do a flashback here. Somebody mentioned this the other day when we were in, I don't know what live I was in. I was in a live and somebody brought up this. They brought it up in a weird way. They're like, there's even a black Republican agrees, or even a black guy agrees with me with something about economics. They're talking about Thomas Sowell. Thomas Sowell is somebody that is revered in Republican circles as an economist, as a absolute believer of like, I would say like laissez-faire capitalism, maybe. Free market capitalism. I think he's often misquoted. He's often used to defend crony capitalism by people who don't understand it. He's a true capitalist. If you're a true capitalist, you probably find yourself agreeing with Thomas Sowell. I think he's wrong a lot. But if you're a capitalist, you're going to think this is one of the smarter guys in capitalism. Here's what he had to say about tariffs.
In October 1929, the stock market crashed. 2 months later, unemployment peaked at 9%. Over the next several months, the unemployment began to subside irregularly, down to 6.3% by June of 1930. So 8 months after the stock market crash, we have not yet hit double digits in unemployment. June 1930, when it's 6.3%, the government intervenes the first real intervention on a massive scale under Hoover, the Smoot-Hawley tariffs, which were designed to reduce unemployment by restricting imports in the United States so that more of these goods will be built in the United States by American workers. It sounds good. 1,000 economists from the leading universities around the country signed a public appeal to Congress and the president not to pass this bill, that it would not do what they said it would do. It would not reduce unemployment. It would, in fact, lead to retaliation that would make it harder for Americans to sell their goods in other countries. As often happens, no one paid the slightest attention. The bill was passed, and within 5 months after the bill was passed, we had double-digit unemployment for the first time. This is from a bill designed to lower unemployment. Right. And when it hit, and this time it did not subside. It never fell below double digits for the entire remainder of the decade of the 30s, not even for a single month.
Who said that? He's an economist. Since he understands economics, he's a capitalist. But come on, you know that. You know that capitalism is a form of it's an economic theory. He prefers capitalism. Capitalism is not right. Anybody who tells you like any of these systems, all of them can be bastardized. All of them can be messed with. There is no system that is better than the other. It's in fact every country who has been successful in this world has some sort of mix of capitalism and socialism. Everybody who fails goes hard in one direction. That's how it's always worked. That's the history of the world. Economists can tell you whatever they want. They can show you whatever math they think. They can make whatever projections they want. But the truth is, like he's saying here, tariffs are a real problem. Like using tariffs as a way to generate your... Whoa. Woo. Go away. How did I do that? I forgot how to do that. There we go. Using tariffs as a way to like fund your economy or fund your government, it's not a good way. We've tried it. And virtually everybody knows that. Even the Republicans know that. Even all you guys that are in here know that. It's just that Donald Trump won't tell you that that's... don't tell me I'm muted. Donald Trump tells you that he's actually right this time. So we're just still going with it because we're afraid to tell Donald Trump that he's wrong about something. Speaking of tariffs, Mack Truck is laying off 350 workers in their Pennsylvania plant. Shout out to Pennsylvania, that swing state, all those union workers for Trump, all those people that showed up, those blue-collar union workers that voted for Trump. This is what you get.
Well, now to the layoffs, shifting into high gear at Mack Trucks. The automaker says it plans to lay off as many as 350 workers at its Lehigh Valley Operations Center near Allentown in July. Action News reporter Jessica Cartalia is live at the Mack plant in Lower Macungie Township. Jess, Mack says President Trump's tariffs are the driving force for the company's decision to trim its workforce.
Yeah, well, Christy, some are blaming those tariffs and others are saying, no, the company's actually been in trouble for quite some time. Regardless, those layoffs will begin in July.
It's not a good situation for us.
10% of the Mack Trucks employees in Lower Macungie Township just learned they will soon be without a job. The company is blaming a slowdown in the heavy-duty truck market, saying orders continue to be negatively impacted by market uncertainty about freight rates and demand, possible regulatory changes, and the impact of tariffs.
We have people that are still in a training center learning jobs, and they found out they were getting laid off.
Timothy Herzog is the shop steward for Mack's union employees.
So we kind of figured it was going to hit us at some point. We have just launched a brand new vehicle. With the tariffs, the price of the truck had to increase twice this year already, and customers are starting to pull some orders.
Look at the Republicans. No, it wasn't these guys. It was really the Amish. Now, let's talk about the Amish while we... Can you just shut the fuck up for a second and watch like the decimation that your president is leaving behind him? Can we just talk about this? Do you have to? Are you that uncomfortable that you have to bring up the Amish? Don't make me start the video over. If you're going to vote for somebody, at least watch what happens. At least try and be an observer of what's happening. People are losing their jobs for tariffs. And what is the benefit of the tariffs? We haven't seen any. It's all negatives. We have seen zero benefits from the tariffs. And nobody can even explain to us what the benefits will be from the tariffs. You guys have been sold like this magic potion Well, it's going to work. You just eventually it's going to work. Johnny says muted. Fuck you, Johnny. I didn't like that. You got me on that one. I think I got all those. Also, Jen wants me to tell you know nothing. You can just message her on Discord. I see you there. I see that you want me to provide some documents or some shit. I don't know what you're talking about from yesterday. Nothing I say I don't have documentation for. So hop up or message Jen. I don't know. You can calm down in the chat for a minute though. Jen can get you the documents. Talk to Jen. She'll get them for you.
Republican Congressman Ryan McKenzie says Mack Trucks relies heavily on government subsidies and was already in a tough financial position prior to news of tariffs on foreign goods.
For many years, we've actually seen their interest and desire to move jobs down to Mexico. Demand has already been falling ahead of these tariffs, and so I think they put themselves in a vulnerable position, which ultimately is hurting workers here in our community.
More than 2,600 people work at the Lehigh Valley plant. The company says 250 to 350 of those workers will be affected.
And Mack Trucks is really part of the fabric of the Lehigh Valley. It's a national, well-known chain and international brand. These are folks that are literally the backbone of the working class here.
Free America or communist China. We are not that free in America. Check the Freedom Index. We're ranked like 69th, and China isn't communist. So, I think free America or communist China, my answer is you might just be dumb. I don't know.
The employees expected to be laid off are still in what's called their probationary period, meaning that they've been with the company for less than 90 days. That means that their layoffs will not include any severance or additional benefits. Christy, we are live tonight in Lehigh County. Jessica Cartalia, Channel 6, Action News.
Yeah, the impact from what's being made in Washington being felt right here at home. Jessica.
Yeah. Just more people losing their jobs, more MAGA not giving a shit. Someone said you need documentation for why I'm a 49ers fan. It's a very simple explanation. I grew up in Utah. We didn't have an NFL team, and I hated the Utah Jazz. So I chose my professional sports teams based on BYU players who were playing in those leagues. So at the time, Steve Young was playing for the 49ers, so I became a 49ers fan. And Sean Bradley was playing for the Mavericks after, I really liked the Bulls Jordan era because they made all the Jazz fans around me miserable. And Karl Malone is a rapist. I want to be very clear. Karl Malone, Hall of Famer Karl Malone, I think third leading scorer of all time, has a statue in front of the arena at the Delta Center. A rapist. Absolute rapist, and also then did not pay child support for the babies, including one of those babies was Cheryl Ford, wound up being one of the greatest female basketball players of all time. So there you go. That's why I'm not a Jazz fan. That's why I'm a 49ers fan. I hope that answers it for you. But look that up about Karl Malone if you didn't know that about him. There's an account called Canadians Hate Trump, and they are doing some real work. This is not meant to be, just so we're clear, there's no point to this at all. I saw it, and I think they should be praised for editing this. That's it.
Take a look at some of these charts. In numerous categories, we're lower than the world. Let me explain. Well, the testing. Right here, take a look. You can test too much. You do know that. What it says is when you have somebody that where there's a case, we're last. No, but you're not reporting it correctly. We have cases. Our testing, I believe, this is the testing, yeah. Yep. Check it out. New cases, new cases, new cases. The top one, that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We test more. Now take a look. Death is way down from where it was. Take a look at this. These are the tests. It leveled out and it's going down. But you have to look at this. This is, excuse me, where it was is much higher than where it is right now. But you don't know that. That's my report as of yesterday. Wait a minute. You have to go by where, look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. What's called science. We have more cases. Don't we get credit for that? Well, we show more cases. They are dying. That's true. And it is what it is. Now it's going down again. And, there are those that say the world is so very Just read the manuals, read the book. This one didn't reach my desk.
I just liked it. Yeah. Parent Trap vibes. Yeah, good Parent Trap vibes. Yeah. Oh, God damn it. Did I not put this on there? Hold on. Let me find this. I didn't put the link on here. Or I must have deleted it. Let me find this next link here. While we're waiting, just a reminder, we do rely on donations to fund this program. We have a gift goal. It's up in the top left corner. We do PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, and I'll read anything that you send me. So if you want to send over a message, help support us, that would be greatly appreciated. We also have super chats. If anybody's wondering the best way is to send it any way but a super chat, because YouTube does keep a percentage, like 30% of any donation that you send through super chats. So there's that announcement. Let me find this. God, I tagged a lot of things. Sorry, guys. I should have been more prepared. Let me find this clip. Where the hell is this? I'm so sorry, guys. Let me... Here it is.
About free speech.
All right, so this was Tim Dillon, comedian Tim Dillon. He was on Piers Morgan the other night. Tim Dillon is a comedian. I don't know who he would be adjacent to. He has his own show. He always wears ridiculous outfits. I think one through line through like every comedian right now is that it's obvious that we're doing fascism. And they keep going on Rogan, and they keep going on places like Piers Morgan, and the comedians are the ones that are making all the sense. It's a comedian's job to like assess what's going on, get the general feeling of the public, and then like message it in a clever or entertaining way. I just thought this was a great job by Tim Dillon, so I'm going to show this clip. It's 4.5 minutes. I'll jump in every once in a while, but when all the comedians get it, and like they all kind of get it in their own way, and they're all able to articulate it in a way that is different without the same catchphrases, I think you're onto something. Joe Rogan is starting to do this, especially when it comes to the treatment of people in Palestine and the treatment of people that we're deporting right now. It's pretty fucking obvious what's going on to everybody except for MAGA, and I thought this was beautiful by Tim Dillon. Also, Piers Morgan is only ever quiet when he gets on somebody that he thinks is more entertaining than him. So I like when he brings on comedians, because that's the only time he doesn't constantly interrupt.
I think if you care about free speech, you have to be concerned with deporting people that attended protests that were critical of Israel. It doesn't mean you agree with everything those people said or any of it. It means that if those people have not committed a crime, and you cannot show that they are financially supporting Hamas.
Thanks, Trudy. Said thank you, your whole team.
Or in any tactical way, and they're out there speaking freely at a protest, writing op-eds, deporting them because they've been critical of a foreign government, seems to feed the conspiracy theories that the United States is acting and doing things at the behest of Israel. What you want to do, if you're creating a political culture, you want to try to prevent people from drifting to the extremes. That should be the whole point of creating any type of political culture, is to say there are lines that people aren't going to cross. They're not going to get into Holocaust denialism, or they're not going to go, on the other side into this.
I want to point out real quick how quickly Tim was able to identify like the extreme far right. This is a through line you'll see. Like, Tim's careful. He's going to try and do like both sidesism and say like you never want to be too extremist. It's much harder for them to identify like what the fringe element of the left is. The fringe element of the left right now is like there have been times when they might be more militant, or they might be more revolutionary, but right now, like, they're mostly just saying, don't do genocide. And that's that covers a broad spectrum of people. So the far left right now is kind of hard to identify because the reality is when it comes to immigration, when it comes to war, our country aligns far more on the left than it does on the right. The right is the fringe stuff that Trump is Trump seems to have adopted, and he seems to want to please. And so watch Tim Dillon here not struggle to identify what even the fringe left is.
On the other side into this crazy,
Thanks,
let's banish everyone who disagrees with us and let's try to get them to lose their job and destroy their reputation and really do a ton of damage to people's lives. These extremes you want to prevent. And to me, what I see, there's a lot of long-term damage, not only to the relationship we have with Israel, but to, people's faith in our government to make decisions. If we start deporting people without any due process, putting them in a jail in El Salvador, I think these are things that conservatives are saying, wait a minute, we've died on the hill of free speech. We can't support deporting people because they've been critical of our government or Israel. It's crazy. If they're legally here on a legal visa.
Right. What if they are, for argument's sake, openly supporting Hamas, which is a prescribed terror group in the United States? In that circumstance, because you got this guy.
I don't know why we're even labeling Hamas a terror group in the United States. Do we have any evidence? I might not know this. You guys could tell me. Do we have any evidence that Hamas is committing acts of terrorism against us? Because I don't know of any. Again, this isn't necessarily where I'm an expert, but I've never heard it. I've never heard that. I've never heard that I understand why Israel labels Hamas a terrorist group. I understand why a lot of people label Israel a terrorist group. I get that, but I don't know why. I don't know why support for Israel is okay and support for Hamas isn't. Does anybody have a good explanation for that? Why? I don't know why Piers never says this. Piers is like, oh, Hamas has been labeled a terrorist organization. Well, but Israel's accused of terrorism and war crimes as well. But Piers never says that. And I think that's what comedians, people who don't have a political side, and yeah, it does it behooves them to make fun of the people that are currently in power. But they see it. Everybody in this world sees it except for us. We seem to be the only country who we're still running cover for Israel. I've never figured out why. Why don't we just point out all the awful things that both of them do? Why don't we just do that? Why do we consistently only point out a side? And then let's compare. If we're comparing the atrocities that have been committed by the Israelis versus Hamas since October 7th, it's not very close.
Guy, Mahmoud Khalil, who was the head of the protest group in Colombia, who was apparently distributing pro-Hamas literature and was there on a green card. Would that change your thinking about somebody like that?
Piers, I've openly supported Hamas. It depends who you're having lunch with. Don't you want to just get through a lunch, Piers? Do you want to fight everyone all the time? If I'm out to lunch with people from the Middle East, I'm not going to start a whole thing here. No, listen, the thing becomes what is Hamas literature? Is it like a brochure that says welcome to Hamas? Am I selling it to Hamas timeshare? What is he doing? He's walking around the quad at Columbia. I got to see this literature that's supposedly Hamas. I had no idea Hamas was doing pamphlets, brochures. I didn't know. Do you go through a Hamas presentation? Do you show up to the lobby of a Marriott and they just get up and tell you about the organization? I don't know. It's
ironic, but yeah, where's the evidence of any of this? Somebody said you don't have to worry about it as a Christian. I have to worry. What do you have to worry about? That's a different religion, bud. You think Hamas is coming after Christians? You think Hamas is declaring war on Christians? What are you talking about? Why would you, as a Christian, be worried about Hamas? Like, do you think they're going to target you? This is a weird thing that you guys are doing. You're like, oh, Israel is under attack, so then we'll be under attack. So we better preemptively kill all of these people so they don't attack us. They've never attacked you. They've never even claimed that they were going to attack you. You're just preemptively killing people because you think that one day they'll attack you. I think that's more telling on us. One of the things that has struck me recently, as probably more clear now than ever, is the amount of time we spend as Americans talking about the evil countries across the world and all these, and how we talk about how bad China and Russia and Iran and Iraq, Afghanistan, the Saudi, like we spend a lot of time talking about all these other countries, but like Russia's doing in Ukraine basically what we've been doing our entire existence. It might be us, guys. I'm starting to think we might have a role in this. I'm starting to think maybe we're not the good guys everywhere. Maybe, just maybe, they've convinced you that everybody's your enemy because we've gotten involved in shit all over the world, and people are pissed at us because we're involved in their shit all the time. And they're tired of us being involved in their shit all the time. These countries who are developing nations are tired of the United States coming in and planting their own leadership and supporting uprisings against people who don't like capitalism or who don't want to, who don't want to sell us their resources, who would rather nationalize their resources. And then the United States government goes in there and we fund a little coup, and then those people get to power, and then we get to buy all their resources. Maybe it's us. I think it might be us. We might be the problem, guys. I might be onto something here.
Seems flimsy. The language we're using to deport that guy seems flimsy to me unless you can make a real case that he was genuinely supporting Hamas in a tactical way that endangers residents of the United States of America. If he beat up a Jewish student, if he committed a crime, if he, all of these things. But if he's just voicing a very anti-Israel point of view, I think deporting him is going to feed the flames of a lot of people that think that we're doing things at the behest of Israel and that we're compromising our values to do it.
Incorrect. The U.S. has ceded occupation in every single country the U.S. has invaded. I didn't say that we stay there and run their country. I said we put who we want in power and then we get out. And we do that everywhere. Show me a place we didn't do that. Show me a place we invaded where we didn't do that. Look at all the wars from our invasions in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. Look how many coups we've been involved. We were involved in the coup in Venezuela. Our own soldiers from the United States that were working for private contractors were caught in the coup in Venezuela. Who do you think was backing a coup in Venezuela? It certainly couldn't have been like all this oil money. Couldn't have been all these big oil companies that wanted to access to the oil of Venezuela when they were trying to nationalize it, right? And then certainly Donald Trump couldn't have been doing the bidding of those oil companies when he said, we're not buying your oil anymore because we don't like who your president is. I mean, it just happened, guys. It just happened. We just did it in Venezuela. We're not the good guys. We do whatever the capitalists want. We think the world is ours. You listen to Donald Trump talk right now. He talks about Gaza. Every time he's been asked, and this is on the record 4 or 5 times, maybe more. Every time he's been asked, what authority are you going to use to claim Gaza? And he said, the United States authority. We're just going to take it. It's ours. We're just going to are you going to buy it? Are they going to lease it? No, it's ours. We're going to take it. That's what he said about the Panama Canal. And then what ultimately happened? BlackRock got down there. BlackRock bought it out. I don't think our foreign policy is very good, guys. I think that a lot of these problems could have been fixed by not intervening and fucking up everybody's countries, not pissing people off all around the world. Call me crazy, but you look what China's done. You look what China's doing now. All this aid that we're not going to send to other countries, China's just going to step in. They're going to send aid. They're going to normalize relations, and they're going to tell those other countries to do the exact opposite of what we're doing. Here's a question I think I'd like a conservative to answer. How come, of all the countries in all the world, how come nobody tries to replicate us? How come nobody tries to use our same economic system? How come nobody else does trickle-down economics? How come nobody else is privatizing their healthcare? And how come the ones that have tried it fail so quickly? If we're so fucking good, why does everybody not want to be us? Who are the people out there right now being like, yeah, this America, everybody's looking at China going, oh, they're about to pass America. And everybody's looking at China and they're seeing how far ahead they are. And they're like, you know what? We might want to change our allegiances because these guys over here, they seem to just want to use their military all the time. These guys over here seem to try and keep their military out of it. Oh, and by the way, they produce goods that we want to use, and it's cheaper. It's pretty good stuff. And we got Donald Trump, who's 80 years old, still living in the 60s, wanting to bring back manufacturing, go back into the coal mines. There's a reason nobody else wants to do this. There's a reason Canada watched what Trump did. If you look at Polymarket and you look at the betting lines of who was going to win in Canada, like before Trump was elected, I think it was like 70 or 80% chance that the conservatives in Canada gained control. It's completely inverted. All they had to do was watch like 1 month of Trump, and they're like, no, we don't want that. We're going the opposite direction. Nobody wants to be us. It's a bad system. It's outdated. Basically, every economic theory that this administration is using has already been tried, and it failed, and it caused a depression. We ended yesterday's show showing you like who's going to benefit from this. It's going to be the billionaires. They're going to benefit from this. That's why they're in Trump's ear. That's why they don't seem so alarmed at the crash. That's why they're not out there like screaming into the void. Because they know what's coming. They know that their power is coming. It's money. Sub. All right. This is by far the best breakdown I've seen of the whistleblower. This is a TikTok user. I'm showing you this, and I think that if you're in the Discord, save this video. This is perfectly messaged. It's on point. He packed a lot of facts into a minute 22, but it is the best breakdown of exactly what the whistleblower from the National Labor Relations Board said to Congress.
We now have evidence that Elon Musk gave Russia sensitive government data. The whistleblower who came forward said, quote, I can't attest to what their end goal was or what they're doing with the data, but I can tell you that the bits of the puzzle I can quantify are scary. He said that DOGE ordered him and others at the National Labor Relations Board to allow access to extremely sensitive data. And then he watched as Russia immediately started accessing and downloading all of it. He was ordered to delete all records of what he had done and leave no trace.
In what scenario would that not be a cover-up? Why would somebody in the government be ordered to erase all the work they did and leave no trace? Give me one explanation for why that would be good, for why that would be necessary. That's as plain as day that this is fraud. After you're done, hide your tracks. They're supposed to keep a log of everything they do. And that is our information as the voting public. That's ours. That's why we have Freedom of Information Act requests. We should have access to literally everything they did. But the Doge people are saying, once you do the work, go in and delete it. Delete the trace of what you did. Help us hide our tracks.
And the man is terrified after what came next. Once he blew the whistle to NPR, he came home to find a threatening note taped to his door. that included personal info and a picture of him that was taken from a drone. NPR was able to corroborate his account with 30 other employees.
30. It's not a rogue whistleblower. There's 30 other people. I don't even know what the staff is with NLRB and their IT department, but it's not a lot. 30 other people are like, yep, this happened. So this happened. Where's the I don't even care about the outrage, I guess. I don't know. Like, what the fuck does it take for you guys to care? What the fuck's it going to take for you guys to say, maybe, just maybe, these guys are in bed with Russia? Maybe, just maybe, they're not doing this for us. Maybe they're hiding things. Well, I don't know why you guys are so goddamn set on believing Elon Musk and Donald Trump. Why do you believe anybody? This is in any other scenario. If we were talking about anything that wasn't political and this same set of facts existed, we'd all agree. Yeah, okay, so they're covering up their tracks. They've been told to cover up their tracks. 30 other people are verifying this story is correct. Yeah, obviously it's correct. This person's guilty. Only in politics would we take something like this and be like, oh, I don't know, it seems like fake news to me.
Elon Musk personally came in and handed over sensitive U.S. government data to Russia, and we have no idea how bad it is. And no one is even talking about this because we are all distracted by the rest of the circus.
Yeah. OMG Trump's going to be impeached for the third time. Yeah, and you guys still won't fucking care. That's what's crazy. Like, you laugh at libs. Like, it's crazy that you think that's an only. Oh, he was impeached twice before. It didn't do anything. No shit. No shit. Because you guys have been convinced that suddenly, just out of nowhere, Donald Trump was doing so many amazing things that we just had to impeach him. We were so afraid that he was exposing us. He was exposing the deep state, so you impeached him. Okay, but he didn't expose the deep state, so maybe he was just doing shitty things. Maybe he tried to leverage an ally to get information to win an election, and he used congressionally appropriated funds to do that. Maybe his team worked with Russia and pled guilty to interfering with the election. Or maybe it's just us. This is not sustainable. And it sets you guys up in a position where no matter what Trump does, you will never believe it. There's not a standard of evidence that you're willing to believe. I'm starting to question if Trump committed an obvious crime, like if Trump went in and like stole the Declaration of Independence. Let's just say he stole it. And then he sold it on eBay. And we have the video of him taking the Declaration of Independence. And we have his account. It's Don Juan 69 on eBay. And we have him selling it. And then we have video of him rolling it up and putting it in a package and handing it to somebody to go and take down to the post office. And then they took it and then they shipped it to his friend Vladimir. And we have video of Vladimir picking it up and opening it with a note that says, hey, Vlad, here's the Declaration of Independence that I stole like I promised, and I sent it to you. And we had that note. And we had Vladimir standing next to the note with a sign that had the date and a voice message saying, this is me, Vladimir Putin. Trump sent me the Declaration of Independence. I bought it from him on eBay. You guys would be like, nuh-uh. I don't think there's like a level of evidence. Thank you. Nick Cage would be so mad. There's not a level of evidence that would ever convince you guys. And you're proud of it. You're like, oh, dude, we are so in love with Trump that there's not one thing you could tell us to change our mind. What do we do at this point? They fucking gave the information to Russia and none of you care. No, it's all right. Russia's our friend. They're nice to Donald. They helped Donald win the elections. They're mocking him on TV. Honestly, like Russian state media yesterday, I was going to play it, but I can't find one with subtitles. Russian state media yesterday is like, we've been trying to do this forever. We've been infiltrating the United States forever. We've been trying to break them apart, and now we don't even have to do anything. Trump just does it for us. He's just alienating them from the rest of the world. He's allowing us to swoop in. He's allowing China to swoop in. This is great. Donald Trump's the greatest thing to happen to us. Finally, America is losing its place as a world power. Biden admitted on video to the quid pro quo. Biden admitted on video quid pro quo. Quid pro quos aren't illegal, dumbass. If what Biden was doing, if Biden did a quid pro quo, he would have had to personally benefit, which he didn't personally benefit. In fact, he forced the Ukrainian government to investigate the business where his son was on the board. They fired that prosecutor because he refused to investigate Burisma. You guys are stuck in lies from 7 years ago. That's the problem. Again, no amount of evidence will convince you. The Ukrainian government, everybody involved, says that prosecutor refused to investigate Burisma. So we threatened to withhold funds. And by the way, Biden can't withhold funds. So he was just speaking for Obama because the vice president can't withhold funds. Only Obama could withhold those funds. And he said, we're not going to give those funds to you unless you fire this prosecutor who won't investigate companies like Burisma. And as soon as they fired the prosecutor and hired a new prosecutor, the owner of Burisma and the old prosecutor fled to Russia. They literally, like overnight, they were gone to Russia. And then they found through the investigation that the owner of Burisma was doing working for Russia. Basically, he was acting in the best interest of Russia and not Ukraine. They were right about that. They did the investigation. They found out that guy was a fraud. They found out that the prosecutor was the fraud. And Republicans have just spun this story all in a way to make Donald Trump look like he did something that everybody else did. It doesn't take any lie. It doesn't take any evidence for you guys to believe that what Trump's doing is the same thing that everybody else is doing. You will accept the smallest amount of evidence as a way to defend the blatant fraud and the blatant crime and the blatant attacks on our democracy. It doesn't matter. You will find anything, just like Byron Donalds did to start this show today. Exactly like Byron Donalds did. Did you know that Joe Biden also hired college students? So same thing. Did those college students give access to Russia? Oh, they didn't? Then it's not the same thing. But that was all you need. That's all you guys need. It's just a little whataboutism so that you can continue to keep your eyes closed and not pay attention to what this administration is doing. By the way, I know we criticize Doge a lot, but remember, Doge is going to cut $2 trillion. That was the claim. And that's why us libs were so mad. We didn't want to cut government spending. We hate cutting government spending. So we were just mad that they were going to cut that $2 trillion. We weren't mad that they were giving access to people who had sold secrets before, been fired for selling secrets before. We weren't worried about their connections to Russia. Really, we just didn't want the $2 trillion saved. Let's see how much they've saved so far.
Back during the campaign, Trump claimed that he was going to cut $2 trillion from our annual budget. And by the way, our annual budget is $7 trillion. So you're talking, he would have been talking obviously about a massive, massive cut. They quickly realized that was not successful. In January, they said, we'll cut $1 trillion out of the budget. And by the way, the government's fiscal year is now more than half over anyway. But then on April 10th, they lowered it to $150 billion.
Oh, no. Oh, no. But they didn't do that till April 10th. So up until April 10th, you guys were all still saying they were going to save $2 trillion. You kept telling us that. And remember, the reason they have to save all this money is because the tax cut that they gave to the rich is going to cost about $2 trillion. So they were trying to offset the tax cut. They weren't even trying to cut spending. They were trying to maintain spending. They needed to cut $2 trillion in order to make up for this tax break. And instead, $150 billion. Are they going to, now that we can't cut enough, are we going to change the tax break? We sure as shit aren't. We're just going to go into more debt so that those billionaires who are struggling so much don't have to pay taxes.
So $2 trillion, $1 trillion, 150. But even the 150 billion, the New York Times did a very thorough investigation of this. 92 billion of it is unspecified. Nobody knows where that's coming from. Of the other 63 billion, there were all kinds of mistakes, including, for example, a contract for 1.9 billion they claim credit for actually canceled during the Biden administration. So for all the commotion, all the layoffs, all the unhappy people, back during the...
Not even close. Even if you said 1 trillion, not even fucking close. Not even fucking 63 billion is what they cut. And most of that is just aid to poor people. A lot of that is stuff that farmers, American farmers were dependent on. They needed to be able to sell their crops to places like USAID. So they cut $63 billion almost exclusively for poor people. And yes, you can sprinkle in some of those taglines that they love to tell you about, some trans opera or some condoms, which didn't turn out to be true, or any other number of stories that they tell you about, and try and convince you that it's okay to cut funding for poor people as long as you're also doing something that means trans people don't get funding. That's what we've cut. So we're going to go into more debt. This will be the most expensive presidency of our country's lifetime. We will go into more debt than any president before. While the stock market is crashing, we are increasing our debt. We are increasing our spending. By the way, they just promised to add another, how much was it, to 200 billion? Another 200 billion they said they want to spend at the Pentagon now. The $63 billion they saved doesn't even make up for that increase in spending. So on top of all this increased debt that we're about to have, which, by the way, when we don't pay off our debt, when we operate at a deficit like this, a lot of times we'll issue new bonds, and on those bonds that are already in existence, we're paying interest on. So we're choosing to make maybe less than minimum payments on our credit card, and then our credit card company calls us like, hey, you want to expand that limit? And we're like, fuck it, let's go. Run it up. This is the dumbest economic theory or policy I've ever seen in my life. You know what we really ought to do? I think this would fix it. What if, hear me out, what if we increased spending and brought in less money? What if we did that? Would that work? Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Thanks, Elon. It's the dumbest economic policy you could possibly have. What could possibly be dumber than bringing in less money while increasing spending? What economic theory or economic policy could be dumber than that? It'd be hard. Amy said, and Trump spent more than Biden so far and deported less people, also raising the debt again, but they owned the libs. That's right. Congratulations, guys, on owning the libs. Jen, do your thing. Maybe.
All right, got it. Okay, we've got, let's see, what is it? 2 hours and 10 minutes or so left of the show. We do this show each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. Glad to see all our regular angry MAGA or conservatives are here. Good to see you all. You know nothing. You're just screaming in the comments. So if you guys want to prove Jay wrong, own the lib, whatever you want to call it, how do you do that? You see the Venmo? That's also my Discord username. Jen, JENNWDUBB, the number 1. It's free. Won't cost you anything. If you want to talk to JF, you message me on Discord and I can bring you on to talk to him. That's how it's done. So like I mentioned, this is our job, as much as you hate it. Oh, Kelby, that's okay. You're all mad. But we're crowdfunded, so Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all help keep the lights on, so we can keep doing this every day and pissing the people in the chat off. So if you could help knock that out by the end of the show, we'd appreciate it. If you haven't already subscribed, you can use an Amazon Prime sub for Twitch, a regular subscription, or just regular subscribe on YouTube, and we also have 4 different memberships. And also check out our link tree. We're on most social media platforms, and we've got some merch. So all that there, and let's see what else. So I asked my salon, what's Mountain Dew? And she said, as far as she knows, it just sits there.
There's a lot of people, Jen, in the chat saying they'll debate me any day, but then they never come up here. What do you think's going on with that? They say today is any day. Yesterday was any day. Tomorrow's any day. When do you think that any day is going to come? Looking at JR there. Who else said I would stumble through something?
Nothing. He said all kinds of wrong shit. So I mean, that would be entertaining if he would come on and talk.
Yeah.
Because he has no idea. But yeah, there's lots of people who are crying in the comments, but won't.
Come on up. Coming up, JR. Make if you got that kind of courage in the chat, you have the courage up here. We'll have a good conversation. We can talk about anything you want. You know how when I don't remember if this is Idiocracy or not. It's been a long time, but in basically every dystopian view of the future, you see like the White House completely sold to corporations, and you'll see things like the American flag having like another emblem over it, and you'll be like the White House brought to you by Capital One. They're just doing that now. That's what we're doing now at the White House. We're literally selling commercials for Easter. Jesus would be thrilled. I remember when Jesus came back, he came out of the tomb and he came to Mary Magdalene and he's like, are we going to celebrate this in the future? And she's like, yeah. And then Jesus was like, hey, make sure that we sell advertisements for this. When people think about my resurrection, I want them to think advertising. I want people to make money off of this.
Started back in March when I obtained this 10-page pitch document from an outside event production company called Harbinger. And among the opportunities for sponsors ranging from $75,000 all the way up to $200,000, naming rights for key areas, sponsor logos on event signage, custom branded baskets, snacks, beverages, or souvenirs. And
these kids are going in and getting a basket to collect Easter eggs, and it's fucking branded. They sold branding for a White House event, and then charged these companies. I don't know how much money she has. She has the totals here.
Mentions in official event communication and social media posts. It was really unclear at the time what this was going to look like, but now obviously we are getting a much better picture. There is a lot of big tech companies, YouTube, Amazon, Meta, and other associations, the Toy Association, the Produce Association, signed up to sponsor this event. So there's an Amazon reading nook, a YouTube stage, the Meta photo tent. You can also ring the bell at the New York Stock Exchange photo op. Now, all the money raised by Harbinger John is going to go to the White House Historical Association. Anything left over is going to go toward future White House events on the South Lawn, like Halloween, as well as the 4th of July.
Are there any rules behind this kind of sponsorship and promotion on White House grounds?
Yeah, there are. There are regulations that specifically prohibit the use of public office for private gain. And I talked to a number of ethics experts, lawyers, former White House officials on both sides of the aisle who are really...
I knew it. I was waiting for it. Why is America making money bad? I'll tell you why. So all of these companies that are sponsoring this event, all of them are under investigation. And they're under investigation by this administration, the past administration. Literally all of them have open investigations. All of these people, they just want good publicity. So that's why you'll see Meta ads on Facebook, on Instagram. You'll see them even on other platforms, on X. You'll see them on TV. That they're trying to make their image look good. So if they can buy somebody off and they can say, oh, look, our name's on the White House, how bad could we be if at the Easter brunch, our advertisements are up there? The other part of this is just one more way that your proximity to Trump gets you paid. So Trump brings in all these donors and then he says, thanks for giving me all this money. We'll pay you back with these sponsorships. We'll put your name up here. Give it to my inaugural committee and you can have your name up here as a sponsor. It's just cheap. It's dirty. It sets a. I'm going to just be honest. Like, it's not the world's biggest deal, but it shows. Like yesterday, the topic of the show was Donald Trump will sell anything. He will literally sell anything. He'll sell any part of our country out for $1. And who's getting this money, by the way? It's not like this money's going into tax coffers. It's not like you're benefiting from this. It's private entities that are making money running this event, and they're selling advertising. So the people get to whitewash their image using the White House, and then somebody else gets to profit off it. And we, the American people, get nothing from it. We did not benefit at all. And I know, again, like this isn't the world's biggest deal. It's just more evidence that Donald Trump will sell anything and everything. He looks at everything in terms of, how can I make money off this? How can I personally benefit off this? And so he took your guys' holiday, he took Zombie Jesus holiday, and he branded it. And then he took all these Christians out here in their best Easter outfits with their crosses around their neck, and he said, welcome to Jesus Zombie Holiday. I hope you don't mind all the people who sponsored it, just like Jesus wanted.
Shocked that this document was allowed to go forward and that the brands and logos that we are seeing today on the South Lawn are even taking place. I talked to Richard Painter, who was a lawyer in the Bush administration. He said this never would have passed muster in his day. And we're also seeing this Trump White House openly flout rules and norms here on the South Lawn. We saw the president selling Teslas last month. He also hosted the Republican National Convention just steps behind me back in 2020, John.
Everything's a grift for this guy. Rory says, Jen, get him. Amy says, the Tesla commercial's still my favorite. Jay put his fucking number in the Discord. Jay, first of all, I got two things to say to you. One, it appears that you're from Utah. So am I. And that explains why you can't figure out how to use an app on your phone. Get Discord, dude. You are a whiny little bitch. Just get up here. Dude, you're sitting here, you're literally just calling everybody gay in the chat. That's what I expect from the Utah public education. That's what I expect out of the Mormon bigots that show up every day to be Mormons and bigots, because that's mostly what Mormons are, is bigots. And so, yeah, figure out an app, dude, and then come up here. Otherwise, just bounce. I don't know why you're going to scream in the chat. There's one way to get on this show. I'm not going to call you. There's a way. We've set up a way. Download an app, message Jen, or bounce, dude. But goddamn, I mean, that's Utah education for you. Oh, I beat anybody in a debate. How are you going to do that? I'm mostly just going to be homophobic. You talked about like people being tops, bottoms. You called us rainbow warriors. Whatever. Like, bro, get over your obsession with gay people. Get over it. Let it go. All right. There's the monetization of Easter for you. This is wild. This is a Mother Jones article. This is just a real thing that's happening. Monday, New York Times reported that the Trump administration is mulling a suite of initiatives aimed at encouraging Americans to have more babies. Some of the suggestions for these programs came from Pro-natalists, a loose network of activists who believe that humanity is basically doomed unless people have more kids. A few weeks back, I hung out with some of them in Austin near their conference, which is called Naturally NatalCon. To say that most of their conference goers leaned right would be an understatement. Some of the topics under discussion were the ethics of gene editing embryos to endow them with desired traits. Bro, we're just doing, this is just like Hitler's so proud of this right now. He's like, God, they get it. These people get it. How having more babies could save the West and why most women should forego careers to be mothers. Some of the pro-natalist proposals that the White House is said to be considering include issuing a baby bonus of $5,000. Have a baby. Government pays you $5,000. Reserving 30% of Fulbright scholarships for applicants who are parents of or are at least married, and offering classes to women to help them identify the most fertile times in their menstrual cycle. Other proposals, meanwhile, seemed aimed at changing cultural attitudes toward childbearing. A prime example of this idea of bestowing a special medal on mothers of 6 or more children. I think we would call that an over-participation trophy. That's what I would call it. We're handing out over-participation trophies now. Keep that womb warm, ladies. After the 6th one, you get a medal. You get 12, you get a certificate. Suggestion came from Malcolm and Simone Collins, a Pennsylvania couple who seem to have appointed themselves heads of the pro-natalist movement and were bells of the ball at NatalCon. The medal was part of a collection of draft executive orders on pro-natalism that Collins recently sent to the Trump administration. By the way, literally, like that's all just Nazi rhetoric. It's another way that you guys mirror the Nazis that you don't realize. And just because Nazis thought something doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. But it seems like you get a lot of your ideas from there. Jay still haven't had a call from a bunch of ugly blue-haired non-binary chicks or a pillow-biting Democrat. Oh, slur. I don't care, rainbow green-haired weirdos. Get that through your unhinged head. All right, let me tell you guys a secret about Jay. Jay has a 435 area code instead of an 801 area code, which means Jay's rural as fuck. And rural as fuck Utah means dumb as fuck Utah. So he's rural as fuck, dumb as fuck, and he's educated by other rural as fuck, dumb as fuck people. Jay's never been out of his hometown, except for when he went on a Mormon mission. And so Jay is terrified of people who are different than him. That's all you're seeing here with Jay right now. Jay is lashing out because he lives in a very ethnically non-diverse community. And he's very angry, and he wants to be a victim very, very badly because Jay's incredibly mediocre. And in Utah, there's like two ways to be non-mediocre. You can make a lot of money, or you can be so influential that you rise in the church. Jay is neither influential nor is he rich, and so he's on the internet screaming about gay people because that's all he knows. It's all he knows to do with his anger and his bigotry. So Jay, figure out how to use an app, stop using slurs, and maybe get a hold of yourself there, bud. Swish says, "Wait, I have 7. Where's my medal? It's coming. It's coming." All right. I really don't want my wrath coming out. What's big wrath there? All right. I'm actually going to skip this one. Let me get to Pete Hegseth. So Pete Hegseth might be in trouble. There's reports coming out that he's being pressured to step down. So naturally, the MAGA folks that are here are defending him because nothing like defending a leaker. Nothing like defending this drunk to get your juices flowing. Here's Pete Hegseth with that hard-hitting Fox and Friends interview. I think this was yesterday morning. Might have been this morning.
The Signal app is what everyone uses. We're all finding that out now because of the Chinese have infected and sabotaged, gotten involved in almost every other communications apparatus over the last 4 years. So that's where you're communicating. You say it took place, but there was no classified material in it. Over the last few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who is Chief of Staff, Deputy Secretary of Defense. The other one, Darren, is now former Deputy Chief of Staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Right. It was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking.
Leaking what, though? But leaking what, though? Dumb shit that you're doing, illegal shit that you're doing. This is what Republicans are doing today. Republicans woke up today and they're like, hey, we need to defend the people who are firing leakers because we can't have transparency in the Department of Defense. If Pete Hegseth is texting war plans on an unsecure app, we can't have the American people finding out about that. We can't have people confirming stories about Pete Hegseth being incompetent. We can't have that. We must crack down on this. And Republicans are celebrating it today. Yeah. Tell the government to keep the secret. Tell people to stop telling us the secrets. We don't want the secrets. That's their secrets, not our secrets.
And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian, if I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that and that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning. Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want to do it and do it the right way, you should. If we think you are leaking to the press, that's a very real problem. We take that very seriously.
Why? Why do they take that seriously? Why? I understand leaking to the press if you're leaking war secrets, but they're leaking that you're leaking war secrets. Why are you taking that seriously? Why is our Department of or Secretary of Defense on Fox News this morning saying we take leaks very seriously? What were the leaks? Well, they told you guys that I was leaking shit. Well, so their leaks you take seriously. Your leaks, no big deal. They leaked it to a fucking journalist. He's literally saying, like, these guys are leaking things to the press. So did you. You guys did too. You leaked all your shit to the press. Why did those people get fired and you didn't? How come nobody that was on that text chain got fired? You guys are still around. It's fine when they fuck up, but anybody who makes them look bad, even if it's their own, just reporting on their fuck ups, got to have revenge.
At the Pentagon, I'm here to do one job. One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first. Peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. We should be talking about the...
For a guy who doesn't have time for leaked press, he sure seems to be in front of a camera a fucking awful lot. I don't remember seeing Lloyd Austin on TV very often. I don't know that I've ever seen a Secretary of Defense on TV in their whole time as Secretary of Defense as much as Pete Hegseth. This motherfucker's on TV every single day. He's on Twitter every single day. Every fucking day these guys live in the media. And they're like, oh, I can't believe the media. Bro, your whole life is in the media. Shut the fuck up. If you don't like media coverage, stop living in the media. If you don't like leakers, stop leaking shit. If you don't like the people think you're doing a bad job, do a good job instead. Sorry you're getting criticism. That is what MAGA has become. Just they go to Fox News and complain about very fair criticism. And the very fair criticism is you keep showing people classified information that they shouldn't see.
Decimation of the Houthis, how we're pushing back
Jin Diesel.
the Chinese, how we have a new defense area at the southern border. Instead, disgruntled former employees are peddling things to try to save their ass.
Did you?
And ultimately, that's it's not going to
save their ass. They got fired. What the fuck is he talking about? How did that? All right, let's just follow that line of logic. If these people who he just fired were leaking things to save their ass, then they're leaking things that that they don't want the public to know. And these people are worried that if the public finds out about this, that they might get in trouble. So if they're leaking to save their ass, what does that mean, Pete Hegseth? And why'd you fire them? Did you fire them to save your ass? You want to be able to publicly discredit them, right? That's why they named. By the way, when was the last time you saw the names of 3 people who were fired? Where was that here? When was the last time you saw the names and pictures of the 3 people that were fired from the Department of Defense? You only see this when the Department of Defense is trying to cover shit up. You only see this when they really want to smear the people who leaked. We don't show the pictures of these people. These are whistleblowers. We're showing the pictures and full names of the whistleblowers. They know exactly what they're doing. We know that the NLRB whistleblower had pictures of himself walking his dog taped to his door. Here you go. We're watching you. Here you go. We're going to put your names and your pictures up here on Fox News. We're watching you. Our people are coming after you. You're going to be doxxed. This is just straight fucking fascism. All because we hired a drunk. We just hired a drunk guy. And you're like, we got to keep this drunk in there.
The result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking. And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian, if I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that and that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning. Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want to do it and do it the right way, you should. If we think you are leaking to the press, that's a very real problem. We take that very seriously at the Pentagon. I'm here to do one job. One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first. Peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers.
All right, I already showed that part. All right, now let's do a little flashback here. Let's see the last time Pete wasn't a member of the military and he was working on Fox News. And he's responding right now that a Hillary Clinton aide, they say maid, but an aide of Hillary Clinton printed out a copy of an email that allegedly contained classified information. And this is what he said about just somebody accidentally or sharing classified information to an aide.
Apparently, the standard operating procedure inside the Clinton Secretary of State office was to send emails that couldn't otherwise be printed to the maid to print them out of a secure area or from a secure area and then hand them off. Any security professional, military, government, or otherwise, would be fired on the spot for this type of conduct and criminally prosecuted for being so reckless with this kind of information. The fact that she wouldn't be held accountable for this, I think, blows the mind of anyone who's held our nation's secrets dear, who's had a top secret clearance like I have and others, who know that even one hiccup causes a problem, let alone a standard procedure like this.
How many hiccups are we at now? This dude's got a case of the hiccups. He's had a 2-month case of the hiccups. All he's doing is hiccuping. Isn't it interesting how where'd that guy go? Where'd that guy go? He wanted a printed email to be that Hillary Clinton needed to face sanctions, face court, potentially charged. But when he does it, I don't like these leakers. They're the real problem. It's the leakers. Sam Scott, Jägermeister of Defense. Beth, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate you. I do think a PayPal came through. Give me 1 second. Alicia said, would love to see one of the Republican snowflakes in the chat grow the balls to actually come debate you. No, they're just chirpers. There's always an excuse. I'll debate you anytime, any place. Right now on Discord. Oh, you can't expect me to get an app. Can't expect me to get an app. Why don't you just come to my house? He's probably dumb enough to put his address in there. All right. So this time, though, the reason that Pete Hegseth isn't criticizing himself here is because it's the deep state, guys. It's just the deep state. Pete Hegseth doesn't make mistakes. It was the deep state that had him create a text group to share war plans. It was deep state that caused Mike Waltz to add a reporter. It's all the deep state, guys. It's never them. It's just the deep state.
You come in with war experience and all your great background. Do you think there's a lot?
He was a National Guardsman, I believe. Does not have a great background when it comes to military service compared to all the other generals. Compared to me, it's way better because I don't have one. But compared to like everybody else who's been Secretary of Defense, pretty goddamn bad.
A lot of people don't want you there, and there's some type of deep state forces that want to make sure you don't stay there.
They've come after me from day one, just like they've come after President Trump.
Oh, yeah.
I've gotten a fraction of what President Trump.
There you go. You make sure, right? He's doing the thing. While you're doing an interview, you have to jack off President Trump. You have to do that while you're doing the interview. You think this is hard on me? This is even harder on Trump. We're two guys that are really picked on, but he's picked on even more.
Got in that first term. What he's endured is superhuman. It's not hard for me to do this job. I know exactly why I'm here.
It appears hard for him to do this job.
To bring warfighting and the warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon, to rip out the insidious ideologies and not compromise and not back down, to bring in new press voices into the Pentagon, which we've done, to reestablish standards and accountability.
His job as Secretary of Defense includes getting rid of woke people and bringing in new press that is far more likely to praise us than criticize us. That's my job. I'm fixing the military. I'm making sure that there's no leaks, that nobody ever knows what we're doing. And I'm doing that by bringing in press who will never report on the bad things that we're doing here. That's my job. Oh, and by the way, all the people in the military, you can do slurs now whenever you want. Nobody's going to say shit about it. That's what I'm here for. It's the wartime ethos.
To not tolerate leakers, to 100% operational control of our border, to get rid of trans lunacy.
You're not in charge of the border, you dumb bitch.
In the military. We haven't backed down. See, here's the thing. A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along.
He's losing it now. I'm going to start that over. This is not the rantings of a sane person. This isn't something that you actually laugh about. This is like anybody who's ever had like a sassy friend, real sarcastic friend when they get mad. I get that way when they're so mad that they just start mocking you. That's what he's doing now. I don't know who he's mocking, but this is a man who's losing it. He's probably a few deep.
A lot of people come to Washington and they just play the game. And it's you punch their ticket and get along to go along. And, start doing Meet the Press and going to the Council on Foreign Relations and spending time with all the...
You've been on TV for fucking 3 straight days, dude. You're playing the goddamn game. You went to the Easter brunch and you played the game. Instead of asking about the Easter brunch, you went off. You've been on TV. You've been on a bender for 3 goddamn days, dude. Huh? Some people come just for the media attention. Yeah, some people, it seems like all they care about is what the media is talking about.
New cocktail sipping crowd. That's not why I'm here. I'm here as President...
I don't do cocktails. I drink that shit straight. And I drink it at 8 a.m. every morning after I do 50 push-ups. And I don't stop until my vision goes blurry. I'm here to bring back the warrior ethos.
Trump asked me to bring warfighting back to the Pentagon every single day.
Right.
That is our focus. And if people don't like it, they can come after me.
We are.
No worries.
We are.
I'm standing right here. The warfighters are behind us. Our enemies know they're on notice. Our allies know we're behind them.
Thanks for the sub.
None of our allies know that we're behind him. In fact, all of our allies are like, hey, why are you abandoning us? The fuck's he talking about? We're abandoning our allies unless the allies are like Russia and they're like secretly, they're not telling us the allies. None of our allies think that this guy's good. None of our allies think Trump is good. They're all like, what the fuck are you doing? In fact, you guys are bragging about the fact that you're abandoning our allies. This is a just total meltdown. Here's what happened this weekend. Pete Hegseth is making Donald Trump look bad, and Donald Trump doesn't like that. And so Donald Trump told Pete Hegseth, you got to go out there and you got to try and fix it. So you can be on TV the next 3 or 4 days. You got to fix this. But if you can't clean this up yourself, I'm not going to take the bullets for you. Because ultimately, that's what happens with Donald Trump. He hires somebody, and then when they fuck up, he lets them take the fall, and he takes no credit for it. So that's what this is. This is Pete knowing his job is on the line. That's why you have the meltdown like this. That's why you haven't seen him melt down like this before. He knows his job is on the line. And imagine being fired by Donald Trump for incompetence. Good. You know how hard it is to get fired by Donald Trump for incompetence? Almost impossible. And Pete might pull it off.
In this dangerous world for the American people is what it's all about.
To be fair, Hegseth is the one that fucked up. That's true, Half Pint. I'm with you there. I would also maybe say Trump fucked up by choosing him. But again, is this the same clip? Hold on, let me see. No, I think it's a different one. Yeah. Again, this is just revenge, guys. It's all revenge.
Fighters work for the president, and none of this is based in reality.
So, Mr. Secretary, I guess I can conclude this. We know some bizarre situation with Michael Waltz happened with the first time the whole thing.
Imagine being in the chat right now defending Pete Hegseth. We like him. He's fit. We like him. He has 9 children with 4 different women. We love, he's great. He's bad at his job, but we like him.
The Signal app came out. You believe this came out. They said it was called Team Huddle because one of the people who work for you, one of the 3 who no longer are there, leaked this out as a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian.
Yeah.
When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence produced, it will go to DOJ.
Yeah.
Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker, often a leaker. Fighters work for the.
All right. Well, yeah. Nobody thinks that those people didn't leak. We're just curious why they leaked that you fucked up and they got fired and you didn't. That's mostly what we're wondering. Because the leaks are all about your fuck-ups and you're keeping your job and you're firing them. They're just exposing how incompetent you are and they're losing their jobs. And this is starting to have real effects on the Republican Party. Here's Don Bacon. He's the first, but will not be the last to come out and speak out against Pete Hegseth. He said, I had concerns from the get-go because Pete Hegseth didn't have a lot of experience. I like him on Fox, but does he have the experience to lead one of the largest organizations in the world? That's a concern. Let's see where it is. If it's true that he had another Signal chat with his family about missions against the Houthis, it's totally unacceptable. Let's see. Said Bacon, referring to the New York Times report. Let me skip that. If I'm not in the White House, and I'm not going to tell the White House how to manage this, but I find it unacceptable, and I wouldn't tolerate it if I was in charge, Bacon said. Then he tweeted this right after. Senior administration officials must assume their phones are closely monitored by China and Russia, their top priority targets. Our adversaries can put thousands of people in position just to monitor their phones and to penetrate perceived secure applications on non-secure phones. I've assumed my phones were monitored since I was a colonel in Iraq and as commander at Ramstein. Yeah, the Republicans are now saying, maybe not on this Pete Hegseth guy. All right, we'll switch. So that's enough on Pete Hegseth. Let me check messages real quick. Just a reminder, we're crowdfunded. We have PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo. If you'd like me to read your message, send the message there. We also have paid memberships on YouTube and Twitch. Any message, like I said, that you send, we will happily read. We've got about an hour and a half left, and then I'm live again tonight. So see if we can knock that out. And then I should have an announcement for you guys tomorrow regarding why I was late. We'll see. I want to show you one more thing before we move on. This is Lawrence O'Donnell. I didn't know Lawrence O'Donnell was classmates with RFK, and this might be an old video. I don't know when this came from, but I just wanted to show you Lawrence O'Donnell eviscerating RFK.
There's no vaccine that is, safe and effective.
Those are big words.
That uneducated buffoon did not take a single pre-med science course in college. He could never get through organic chemistry or inorganic chemistry. And in the class I was in with him in college, he could not keep his eyes open. I did not know then that he was a heroin addict every day he was in college. He has said he was a heroin addict for 14 years. And while he was a heroin addict, his powerful uncle, Senator Ted Kennedy, managed to get him a job in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And while he was working for the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, he was committing drug crimes every day, for which he was finally arrested, charged, and convicted.
Boy, I'm old enough to remember the Hunter Biden stuff. I'm old enough to remember you guys wanting to impeach Joe Biden because his son did some drugs. And then you're like, hey, hold my beer. How about a guy who did it for 17 years? How about that guy? How about this guy? Let's just make him in charge of health and human services. Let's do that.
And that is who Donald Trump wants to be Secretary of Health and Human Services. A science...
Hold my ketamine. Yeah, thank you.
Ignoramus who was in a heroin stupor every day that he could have been studying science in college. It is no surprise that the heroin addict, convicted criminal, turned self-described medical expert does not have the votes yet to be confirmed by the United States Senate.
All right. I just want to go. All right, now we're going to talk about ICE. The rest of the show is going to be, I got some ICE stuff. I want to go over the David Hogg interview. Is it Hogg or Hogg? But first I want to go through some CBP stuff. Admittedly, one of my guilty pleasures is watching those auditors. This is one of the places where I think me and the people that are further right on the spectrum tend to, our views tend to confluence. What am I trying to say? I don't know why I can't come up with that word. The confluence of our ideas. That's what I was trying to say. Merge. This is Border Patrol. This is down near Sierra Vista, Arizona, which is down the southeast corner near the border. And if you've ever traveled in southern Arizona, you'll know that within 100 miles of the border, you'll come across these checkpoints. So this isn't at the border. This is at a checkpoint. And CBP, basically, you roll down the windows. They'll ask you questions about where you've been. You go on your way. You are under no obligation to tell them. They do not have. They don't have a reason to stop or detain you. You can answer their questions, but you don't have to. And this person, this police auditor, and in this case CBP auditor, knows his rights and stands down these two police officers. I would just say, take notes. Take notes. You are not obligated to show them any identification if they have no cause to believe you've committed a crime.
Why?
Converge was the word I was looking for. Hey, howdy. Thank you.
Are we detained?
Yes, you are.
Why?
If you wanted an explanation, I'm going to give you an explanation.
I don't need to be detained for an explanation. That's not how the law works. Are we free to go or not? Hey guys, it's Sierra Vista, Arizona. What's your name?
The questions?
Can we just go and I'll come back and talk to you tomorrow?
No.
No?
No, you can't.
Okay. What's your name?
It's right here.
Roman?
Yes.
E. Roman?
Yes, it is.
All right, guys, we're in Sierra Vista, Arizona. We don't have to answer your questions about how many people are in the vehicle.
Oh, yes, you do.
No, we don't.
Yes, you do. Until I'm satisfied with my immigration inspection, you do.
What makes you think that we're not U.S. citizens?
Well, I'm developing those questions. Can you move them around?
Can we just go? What's that? Whetstone, Arizona? Can we just go? Can we? Boss, I know you know this is stupid. Can we just go? I don't have to answer your question. You're the one that's making it stupid. I don't care who told you it's okay to stop people who haven't committed crimes and harass them on the road, but it's not okay.
We're not harassing. actions on the road, sir. Consistent immigration inspection. We have the right on the Supreme Court decision.
The right? You think a supremacy court gave you a right? Do I have a right to stop you when you're traveling and I don't suspect you of a crime and you haven't taken life, liberty, or property? Do I have a right to stop you when you're traveling on the road and detain you if I don't suspect you of taking life, liberty, or property?
Well, you're not in law enforcement.
How do I give... Wait. Aren't powers delegated by the people? How could I give you a power I don't have? Magic? Can I just go?
Go ahead, sir.
Free to go?
You're free to go, sir.
Thank you. I'm James.
You're free
It's
to go.
good to meet you.
You're free to go.
Don't ever fucking stop me again, boy. Do you understand me? I don't care who told you it's okay. It's not.
I always like the end when they find out that the cop is going to follow the rules, and then they start calling them names because they know the cop can't do anything about it. I like those auditors. It might be it's a guilty pleasure of mine. Sorry if you didn't like that. Yeah, I called him boy. I like those ones. I appreciate it. Here's a sad story though. This is a story about a backpacker from Britain. Rebecca Burke has been detained at the Northwest ICE Processing Center related to the violation of the terms and conditions of her admission. ICE did not detail what terms and conditions she allegedly violated. According to a Facebook post from her father, Paul Burke, Rebecca Burke tried to cross the U.S.-Canada border on February 26th for the next leg of her backpacking trip. She was denied entry to Canada because of incorrect visa paperwork, and when she tried to return to the U.S., she was instead handcuffed and taken to the Tacoma Detention Center. What was meant to be a life-changing 4-month backpacking trip across North America has turned into a nightmare, Paul Burke wrote on Facebook. He called her living conditions deeply concerning, saying she is a vegan. She is surviving on a diet of cold rice, potatoes, and beans. ICE did not immediately respond to a request for a comment on Paul Burke's Facebook post. I can't find any mention of what they're claiming is the reason they are detaining her. And once again, this is just more evidence that our government is deciding to detain people and not following due process, not telling you what the charges are against you, not giving that information out. These are people who are detained and nobody can find out why they're being detained. Maybe she did something horrific. Who knows? Why are we comfortable with people being detained and not knowing why they're detained? So 13 days now she's been in detainment. Here's actually a video from her dad. Again, Paul Burke.
Our daughter now is on her 12th day incarcerated by ICE. So like a nightmare we can't wake up from, or a horror movie we can't escape from. I even tried to explain it to people like we're having an out-of-body experience. We're watching us live our lives, but really it's not us. We're just going through the motions of living. Whilst our daughter now is on her 12th day incarcerated by ICE in Tacoma in a large detention center.
I wonder, do you think that this political row between Canada and the US is making your daughter's situation worse?
Something has definitely changed. We imagined probably the safest two countries for a British person to travel solo, a young woman, would be USA and Canada.
Somebody said, it's Misa because the private owner of the prison is making a lot of money per body per day. That's one explanation that you can't rule out. You can't rule out that this is just about private prisons making money. Unfortunately, you can't rule that out. It would be nice if our government were able to rule some of these things out for us, but instead they're just keeping us in the dark. Rory said, I thought the Houthi were a rock band. My bad. That's only when accompanied by a blowfish. What are we doing, guys? Like, our country's becoming a joke. I don't know how you undo this. People want to come here. People want to come here on vacation. You've seen the numbers. Tourism numbers have plummeted. And that's killing U.S. jobs. And I get for like the Nazis that are here in the chat, for the eugenists. I get it that like you don't want immigrants because you're mediocre, and so you feel like the people are coming from other countries and they're probably more educated than you, and they're probably harder workers than you, and they're probably not as entitled as you are, and so they come here and they work, and it makes you look bad. And I get that that's frustrating to you, but we need people to do the jobs, and we know that you're not going to do them. And so what if we just stopped making our country a hellhole for a minute? What if we stopped just arresting people for the fuck of it? What if we stopped sending people to life sentences in prison for tattoos? What if we just did that? Any thoughts on that? What if maybe our standard of evidence for somebody getting a life in prison is more than somebody saying they have tattoos that make it look like they're part of a group that does bad things? What if we had like a better standard of evidence than that? Are we not okay with that? No, you want to throw them all in prison. You guys are fucked. You guys aren't smart enough. You don't work hard enough. We need replacements for you. We already have problems in red states. You guys already suck. You already don't add a whole lot to our country. We're already paying your bills. Can you just stop locking people up when they come here? We're already paying for you. Okay, you're already getting as much as we can give. Unless you guys are cool with us raising taxes, we might need to do that. I'll show you in a minute. We're probably going to have to raise taxes because we're going to have a bunch of people who lose their Medicaid. This is a warning from a TikTok user named Steve Tried to Tell You. And I do want to say this. This is ominous. It's a little bit threatening. It's a little bit dramatic. And I can imagine that the Republicans here are going to think this is overblown. So while he's saying this, and you get upset, I just want to point out that everything he's saying here is backed up by multiple decisions in the courts. What the Republicans are doing right now, specifically in Texas, where you have Greg Abbott essentially telling all of the state police that you will comply with Border Patrol and you will comply with ICE and you will do the things that they tell you to do. So if you go and they've detained somebody and they say that person's an illegal immigrant, you don't ask questions, you go and you throw that person in jail. And those people, there's rules and there's laws and there's Supreme Court decisions, there's state court decisions that back up everything they're doing as being illegal. And so Steve Tried to Tell You lays it out much more clearly than I can. But then I'm going to show you some court cases after this of these exact types of laws that have been broken and people have been found guilty for breaking these laws.
Here's what's going to happen. You're 25 years old. You're in the prime of life. You just pinned on your star and you've gone to work as a Texas lawman.
Thanks, Amashi. $1 to make you holler, fuck ICE.
You couldn't be happier. You made it through your academy, you made it through your field training. You finally got your own patrol car and some supervisor or maybe a Texas Ranger hands a fellow off to you and tells you to put him in the back of your car and take him off to the jail and hands you a bunch of paperwork. And you're going to say, what'd he do? And he's going to say, oh, that there's an illegal alien. And you're not going to think much of it because they didn't really dwell on this in the academy. You actually thought illegal alien was a thing. After all, you're not Border Patrol trained. But what should it matter? You're a real police officer. They aren't police officers. Yeah. And so you just innocently take them on down to the jail and you hand off the paperwork and you go to lunch and you haven't thought anything of it. But you shall have ruined your life. You're not going to know it right away. But when this clown show of criminals is done, when your stupid governor is gone, when this thing shakes out, attorneys are going to have that guy's case, and they're going to sue everybody who ever took custody of him unlawfully, and that's going to include you. And if it's me, I'm going to take every last thing you have. I'm going to enforce laws that have been on the books since 1868. You can't violate people's civil rights under the color of law. I don't care what you think you are now and what kind of authority you think you have. You're not above the law. Your orange antichrist is not above the law. Your dumb governor in his little wheelie chair is not above the law. I'm going to take everything you have. I don't care if it's just a trailer. I don't care if it's your dog. You will have screwed around and found out.
All right. Again, delivery, not great. Kind of ominous. Also, I don't know how to explain it, but it does look like that guy is in like a costume. His face, the amount of wrinkles on his head don't make sense to me. there are a lot of comparisons between
Just
Tom,
a couple of hours, Sheriff Joe
Tom
Arpaio.
Homan and Sheriff Joe Arpaio. Sheriff Joe Arpaio has done this already. I live in Arizona. We've already done what Texas is doing. We did this 12 years ago. This has gone through the courts. It's been ruled on. It's been upheld. And it cost the state of Arizona hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits. And it gave Joe Arpaio a felony conviction that was only where he only didn't spend time in prison because Donald Trump pardoned him. We've done this already. And in a state that at the time was just as red, maybe not just as red as Texas, but it was pretty fucking red. The courts ruled against Sheriff Joe over and over and over again, and it was upheld at the federal level. Here's what happened with Sheriff Joe, his contempt of court case. So Sheriff Joe basically was told they had these rules, and basically they made it so that you could pull somebody over on the suspicion that they were not here legally. How would you be suspicious of that? How would you suspect somebody of not being here illegally or legally? Probably by their appearance. And that kind of looked like what Sheriff Joe was doing. We went case by case, and there were so many people who were unlawfully detained who were not here illegally, but they all had one thing in common. They looked Hispanic. And it was a real problem. So during this time, I was playing soccer at a school here in the state, and we had a kid on our team that he was from Mexico. And I think, if we're being honest, I think possibly his immigration status was in question. I know he had come here legally, but I think maybe he had overstayed a student visa. I don't know. We didn't talk about it. Nobody really told us. But when we went to Yuma, we would play games in Yuma, which is closer to the border, and you have to go through border stations. He did not accompany us. And every time we went there, somebody would board our bus, and they would look for any Hispanic members on our team, and those are the people that they wanted to see documentation for. Nobody once asked me for documentation, not one single time. I don't think any of my white teammates were ever asked for documentation, not once. So that's what was going on in Arizona, and the people were like, this is clearly an injustice. This video is from 9 years ago, but this is regarding Sheriff Joe basically doing what Trump and Abbott are doing. Despite the fact that there are federal rulings on this, they're saying, we don't fucking care. We're going to do it anyways. Do something about it. And that's what Sheriff Joe did. He ignored the judge's ruling, and he said, do something about it. So they did.
In just a couple of hours, Sheriff Joe Arpaio returns to federal court for his contempt of court trial, and he could get on the stand later today. During a round of hearings back in April, he and his chief deputy admitted that they did indeed violate federal court orders when he allowed his officers to conduct immigration patrols after being ordered to stop them.
Well, at the end of these hearings, Judge Murray Snow is expected to decide whether the violations were intentional and what punishments should be handed down.
Joining us this morning is attorney Brian Foster from Snell and Wilmer. It seems like this case just keeps going on, so we wanted Brian to come in here and give us some insight. Last time we saw you, you're on your way to Thailand.
I love the local news.
I mean, you were going to the country,
the
right?
actual country, and I made it back unscathed, and it was an amazing trip.
And you got a little beard going for
Little beard, little goatee, not a beard, a goatee.
Yeah,
all right?
well, you look great.
Thank you.
So this thing started back in April. It is now almost October, and it doesn't seem like things are going to wrap up anytime soon. Could this continue to go on for a little while longer?
Yeah, it'll probably go into October, maybe even November. I mean, Sheriff Joe is he's in a real jackpot right here.
Really?
I mean, he has got a really
smart
federal judge. He's admitted they violated this judge's court orders, and so now the only question
I think you meant Joe LaCava, I'm sure.
Really is, was the violation intentional? If it is, there may be criminal charges that come from that, and also what the remedy should be. How much money should Sheriff Joe have to dig out of his pocket to pay these people?
So here, the accusation was that Sheriff Joe was told by the federal courts that he couldn't run these immigration patrols that they called them, and they did them anyways. And then all of the people who worked for him were like, yeah, he never told us that we couldn't do this. And so then they had this real flimsy defense where like, well, we thought he sent an email. There was like a vague email, but we didn't look into it. And so Sheriff Joe was trying to say, I sent the email. I did what I was supposed to do. It was very vague. They didn't even show that any of them had read it, and that was kind of their defense. Ultimately, it didn't work, but that was their defense. They've already admitted in court, and that's why he says like he has a I don't know why I said he has a jackpot, but that's what he's saying here. Like this case, pretty cut and dry, that they just ignored the order. Tom Homan is just ignoring the orders. Tom Homan is telling all these police departments, state police departments, and governors, like, fuck you, we'll do whatever we want. We've already ruled on this. This has already happened. This is the federal government. This is the Trump administration say, I dare you to do it to us. I dare you to do it to us. And we're going to see, will the courts have the courage to stand up to Trump and Homan? And Trump and Homan are counting on the courts backing down.
As I understand it, the sheriff and his chief deputy did say that they did violate it, but they just don't remember getting the email or something like that. They did it unintentionally.
That's the story they're going with, because if they did it, I mean, you can prove willful violation by direct evidence, which means Sheriff Joe telling his deputies, ignore this order, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But more often you prove it by showing that he buried his head in the sand like an ostrich and didn't tell his deputies about the order or didn't take any action to investigate when he was hearing they violated the order. Mm-hmm. So there's a couple different ways.
So, and again, the reason I'm showing this, not to relitigate the past with Joe Arpaio, but this is exactly what's happening right now. The order, you can't even really claim that nobody knows. Everybody knows the orders. Everybody knows that ICE is violating human rights, violating rights of Americans. They just like violating rights, and they are co-opting red states and red police departments to do the work with them. And so now they're getting other police departments in the business of violating rights. And that's why that guy said, I'm going to sue you. You're all going to get sued, and you're going to lose, because you can't, whether you like the court order or not, you can't violate it. You can't ignore a federal court order. You cannot do it. You can't just say, fuck you, we're above that. We've already done this. That's why he's so confident. I'll show you the damages that we had to pay in Arizona here in a minute, but that's why he's saying this is exactly what Trump's ICE is doing. This is exactly what Homan is doing. We've already litigated this.
Ways to prove it.
Okay, and you mentioned money, digging deep in his pockets. If the punishment came down and they did feel that they proved that he intentionally did this, I mean, how much money are we talking? And is it only money that he would have to pay back? Is there something else that would go along with the punishment?
You know, it's really up to the judge. I mean, the judge has got a full array of options that he can use. One of them is requiring money to be paid, and he's already made it clear that if money is being paid, it's going to be paid by Sheriff Joe and not by one of his funds that have been set up for his legal defense.
I can end it there because that just gets into the finances. Here was the end result of Sheriff Joe. This is the cost to taxpayers to the Arizona constituents. Again, it was ruled on a state court. Oh, Jesus,
$202 million.
Yeah, there we go.
The cost to taxpayers from a racial profiling lawsuit against former Sheriff Joe Arpaio's immigration patrols 1 decade ago is expected to reach $202 million by the summer of next year. Now, officials approved a tentative county budget today that does provide $31 million for the cost of complying with court orders in the fiscal year that begins on July 1st.
Wound up being in total about $250 million that it cost the taxpayer in Arizona. The amount of money that we have had to pay in the state of Arizona by being the guinea pigs for the Republican Party is astronomical. We paid $250 million for their failed deportation roundup strategies. When Trump lied about the 2020 election repeatedly, we had 5 different audits. We had to replace every wireless router in Maricopa County. We had to replace basically anything that had hooked up to those wireless routers. It cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to prove 5 times that the election was not stolen in Arizona. And now we're also the state of school choice, where we're running massive budget deficits. Massive, like hundreds of millions of dollars in budget deficits because school choice is costing us a fucking fortune. We are this state that somehow is just like letting the Republicans try out all their ideas, and every time they try one, it's a massive failure. We're a state that has a lot of money. We're a state that has brought in a lot of business. We are a state where people make pretty good living. The cost of living has gone up substantially. We're not a poor state. But what's making us poor is Republicans. over and over and over again, Republicans are costing us hundreds of millions of dollars so that they can either, one, be cruel, or two, lie. And still the Republicans in Arizona show up. Like, our tax dollars aren't going as far as they used to. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, no shit, because you guys keep voting for these fucking morons. And then we had Carrie Lake running for Senate and then running for governor. So like the star of your party keeps going out there and saying, "Oh no, this time this audit's going to prove that it was stolen." So we paid for 5 of them. And they all found the exact same thing, that there was virtually no fraud. And frankly, most of the fraud that we found happened on the Republican side. But none of that still changed anything. That's all we found for hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm tired of my taxpayers going to morons. Jay, we're gonna get rid of Jay if Jay doesn't have the courage to come up. Jay, you have to be muted forever. I'm tired of you being a pussy. Honestly, I'm so tired of you being such a coward. You put a bad spin on Utah people. You make Utah people look bad. I'm tired. Don't do that to my people. They're better than that. They deserve more than that. They deserve to be represented by a smarter person than you, Jay. So you're gonna take a mute for the rest of the live until you can figure out how to use Discord and come up here. And then I think you're going to last, once you come up here, about 30 seconds, because you're going to freak the fuck out and you're going to drop a slur, and then you're going to tell your boys on Discord how you dropped a slur and you're dope. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene, who hates Catholics. I didn't know Marjorie Taylor Greene hated Catholics so much.
Controlling the church. The church is not doing its job, and it's not adhering to the teachings of Christ, and it's not adhering to what the Word of God says we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to live. And what they're doing by saying, "Oh, we have to love these people and take care of these migrants and love one another." That's
a crazy thing to say. Like, you guys are you're so disgusting. You have to love and take care of each other. And what an evil human being. She's just gross as a human being. I don't care if her political beliefs are different. Like, the criticism of the Catholics is that they are too kind to immigrants. You guys are just too kind. Be more like Jesus. Punch those immigrants in the face.
Loving one another. Yes, we are supposed to love one another, but their definition of what love one another means
their definition of like being nice, bad. Here's Marge's definition of love one another.
Means destroying our laws. It means completely perverting what our Constitution says. It means taking unreal advantage of the American taxpayer. And it means pushing a globalist policy on the American people.
Jesus famously said, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you," unless they're costing the taxpayers money and they're globalists, in which case, fuck them. Just get rid of them. So love one another only applies to people who don't cost any money and are nationalists. They all claim Jesus. They all put that cross around their neck, but it is Donald Trump. It is nationalism first every time for these people. It is not love. It is not empathy. The contempt with which she speaks about empathy and love is fucking wild. And I've said this to my family. One of my frustrations about Christians, and my frustration specifically about you conservative Christians, is that you don't seem to care at all about what Jesus said. There's not really a part of you that thinks about Jesus. It's cruelty first every time. You guys, the Republicans that are in here, it's one thing, like, you guys call us demons, democrats, evil, whatever you want to say. Like, we're not out there saying that, like, you guys should lose your rights. We're just out there, like, advocating for poor people. And it makes you so mad when we advocate for people who maybe don't have much of a voice. You're so upset anytime somebody voices an opinion that means that, like, we love the people that you're bigoted against. You hate that. And I think that's a bizarre position that you've chosen to take.
People and forcing America to become something that we are not supposed to be. Loving one another means is the true meaning of loving one another, and loving others means that you also have to uphold the law. You have to uphold the rules. And
Jesus died because he wouldn't uphold the rules. What the fuck are you talking about? That's why that was the thing. He chose the word of God over the rules. That's the point of Jesus. That's why they killed him. I don't know if did you guys miss that part? Did you miss that part? What Jesus really said is do your best, but follow the law. And by the way, you're a member of Congress. Change the fucking laws then. If you have laws on the books that require you to treat people inhumanely, which should be against your religion, then change the laws. At the very least, you could say, like, if you're going to say, look, there's no choice, this is the laws, I'm trying to get the law changed, but the law can't be changed. So yes, a lot of people are going to get deported. It's one thing if you said that, but she's saying, like, the law it's above Jesus. What are we going to do, change the laws? No, we have to follow the laws as written. That's what Jesus would want. These are not Christians. These aren't good human beings. I think that's the most frustrating thing about my family and the loved ones that are still Republicans being Republicans is that my family, my friends, they are not hateful people. I don't understand why they align with hateful people. At the end of the day, like all of you guys, it's about your bottom line. It's about your dollar. And even though immigrants help, you've been convinced that they will hurt your bottom line. And so you're like, well, since they might hurt our bottom line, we will treat them like garbage. Despite the fact that they won't. They don't. They're a net positive. They work jobs that Americans are too goddamn lazy to work. We could pay them better wages, and they could pay into taxes. We could do a million other things that make sense. But you guys think the only option is to be bigots. Why not pass a law? Why not give amnesty? Why not make work visas easier? I think all of you actually agree with me on this. I would say that most Republicans would say, I don't like illegal immigration. I like legal immigration, and we should make it easier for people to get a work visa, work here, and pay taxes. I think almost everybody in this room would agree with that. Then why don't you ask them to do it? What the fuck is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing? What are Republicans doing? You hate our immigration system. You think we have a broken immigration system. Pass a fucking law while you have Congress and the presidency. You could pass any law you wanted to. Pass a fucking law. But instead, you guys just wait for Donald Trump to write an executive order, which the next Democratic president that comes in is just going to undo. It's baffling to me. You're watching your guy do the most ineffective thing. He can't deport people worth shit. He can't find people worth shit. They're doing a terrible job compared to the last administration in just sheer number of people who are being deported who are here illegally. They're doing a much worse job, but they're doing it with way more cruelty. Why not advocate for the better version that's less cruel? Because it seems like you guys just want to be cruel.
And you say no. There's times you say no. And here's America handing over billions and billions and billions of dollars in foreign aid to where? These countries where these people are coming from, like Guatemala, Mexico. I mean, we could go through the whole list.
Right.
Our dollar.
How much foreign aid do we give to Mexico? Let's see. What is that number? In 20 years, 3.4 billion in equipment, training, and capacity in their law enforcement, mostly to help them with law enforcement. Okay. All right. Well, by the way, we give money to those countries. The reason we've given them foreign aid is so they don't show up at our borders. That's the whole point. And what happened when Donald Trump pulled aid from those countries? They showed up at our borders. That's what happened during COVID. Trump had pulled aid from so many of these countries that when COVID hit, it was unsustainable for them. They had nowhere to go. They had no way to get jobs. They had no money. They had no food. They had no shelter. So they came flooding to our border. Had we kept aid in place, some of these places, and had we not intervened in Venezuela, it's likely that we don't see the amount of people at the southern border. You guys love blaming Joe Biden, but the reality is we pulled funding. Find me a country where we let's look at El Salvador, for example. Let's see Trump pulls funding from El Salvador. Let's see. Let's just see if something comes up. I got to search outside of, because it's all it's going to give me. Let me change the search history from his last presidency. Or not history, you can change the year, right? Let me just put a year in. Let's see. It's too much. El Salvador might have been a bad choice because I'm just getting all the news stuff. Let's see if I can find one. There we go. As promised, Trump slashes aid to Central America over migrants. This is from June 17th, 2019, right before the COVID crisis happened. Let's see if any of these countries he pulled funding from are people that are showing up at our border. President Trump administration on Monday cut hundreds of millions of dollars in aid to El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. The three, didn't she just name those three? After Trump blasted the three countries because thousands of their citizens have sought asylum at the U.S. border with Mexico. Did that stop people from showing up at our border? Nope. Nope. They showed up in bigger numbers. What did I say? You see how easy this is to find? Republic, did you see how easy that was? We pulled foreign aid, more people show up. Congressional aid said the administration told them it would reallocate $370 million in aid to Central America that lawmakers had approved for fiscal 2018 and suspend an additional $180 million Congress had approved for fiscal year 2017. That's what happens. That's what happens when you're incompetent. They just don't like immigrants, and they don't understand economics, and they don't understand like global politics. They don't understand how to work with each other in a global on a global scale. They see money out leaving America, and they think there's no benefit because this money is going out. But there's massive benefits for us spending money around the world. That's why China is picking up the tab where we left off. And that's why China is gobbling up all the trade deals. That's why China largely has all the trade deals and all the leverage in Africa now.
Our American dollars, they like fly out the window and fly down there to those countries. Well, here's what we should be doing. We should hold those countries accountable. Oh, I'm sorry, Guatemala, you're not getting a check this year, because you have sent X number of thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of people to illegally invade our country as if they're an army. Yeah. They may not have guns, but they're the numbers of a regiment and of an army. We won't be able to send you your foreign aid until you bring your people back and use this. If you're interested in foreign aid, use this money to help your people. Right. Because that's what this is designed. And the bishops, the bishops of Catholic relief charities and services, they should be all in support of that. They should be in support of United States politicians holding these other countries accountable for all the American taxpayer dollars that flood into their countries. So if the bishops were reading the Bible so
let's take a look at this. So in that article, Trump said he cut aid in 2017 and 2018. So if you look here, here's 2017. This is the development of asylum applications from citizens from Guatemala. This is specifically Guatemalan. We cut funding in 17 and 18, and then we saw a spike. We had seen a spike. It was leveling off. We cut funding in 17 and 18. Boom. COVID hits. Boom. Here they come. All of this. All of this stuff is destabilization. We destabilize people all over the world. We destabilize countries all over the world. We feel like we have to be involved in every fucking country. We destabilize them. We put our influence on them, and then every once in a while, a president comes in and says no more, and we pull the funding, and we see the result. And this president doesn't seem to have learned from his mistakes the first time around. That actually what we should do is we should normalize relations. We should help people build up their countries. We should help people build infrastructure. People don't want to flee and cross deserts and wait in line at the border to seek asylum or sneak in and seek asylum. People don't want to do that. People would love to stay in their countries. People would love it if their countries had opportunity. And we can't sit here and pretend that it's just their country's fault. Like, we involve ourselves all the time. We destabilize these countries all the fucking time. And they're reliant on us. And then when we pull that reliance, we act shocked when people show up at our borders. Jamar says, love thy neighbor. Unless they're on the left, they're brown, black, indigenous, or poor. Sincerely, the conservatives. Jackie said, okay, one more. How does the sun listen to the music? a radio. How does this sound? Oh, Ray. A radio. Also from Jackie, hey, homie, quick dad joke for you. Why can't the duck go to the comedy show? Because he will quack up. And then Amy Lynn said, Kamala and Biden got $1.5 billion in 2 years from Mexico. Solid. Democrats will not build up other countries. The live war. Nice, dude. Nice. Whatever that means. This is maybe the most honest take. I appreciate B sending this to me on Twitter, and it's on TikTok. This user's name is Generic Cart Dad. I felt this. This is Generic Cart Dad talking about probably the realest video I've seen on Christianity and how Christians hide their bigotry behind their Christianity that I've seen in a long time. If you've got Christian family and friends, maybe send them this video.
That are like, how can this party call themselves Christians and be so full of hate and anger? Or I was raised in a Christian house. We were taught to care for other people, and I took that to heart. And since I care about people, now that I'm older, I'm a liberal. And they're the ones that have changed. They become more angry and judgmental. You just weren't paying attention. They've become more overt. Yeah, absolutely. But it's always been hateful and judgmental and about othering. The Bible's been used to justify a lot of awful things throughout its history because the Bible is pro-awful things. We use it to justify slavery for the longest time because the Bible...
Thanks, Mindless Pursuit.
Understandably, could be taken as pro-slavery. And I'm not trying to come after your religion. What I'm trying to say is that we can't just keep going, well, they got it wrong. The hateful ones, they're the ones that aren't the real Christians. That's just a no true Scotsman. And we're not having an actual conversation. If you actually care about the way that they're using your religion to justify awful things, then you need to talk about how your religion can be used to justify awful things. It's not all about sunshine and roses and things like that. And you might say, well, Jesus' teachings are. They're not. When we were kids and we went out and we cared about other people, and like we did missions trips and community outreach, and we rebuilt people's houses, and we brought homeless people water and food and blankets. Do you know what else we did? We also brought them Bibles and lectures. And we took advantage of people's vulnerable situations because they were held hostage. They needed help. And the price of our help is that we're going to proselytize to you. Because the number...
I want to back that up. When I was a Mormon missionary, this is exactly what we did. We were required to do a certain amount of service every single week. And there was also a limit, weirdly, to how much service we could do. But oftentimes what we would do is we would go and we would find maybe the poorest neighborhoods we possibly could, or dilapidated houses, and we would knock on their door and we would just say something like, hey, we're in the neighborhood, we want to do good, we want to do some service. And a lot of times people would let us mow their lawns or do some weeds. You know, I painted fences, plucked a turkey once, which was the worst experience of my life. Helped somebody skin a bear. We helped somebody build rabbit pens because they raised rabbit. I spent a lot of time in northern Idaho, so I did some backwoodsy shit. But that's what we did. However, at the end of that service, every time we were taught how to transition it. Like, thanks for letting us be here. Would you mind if we shared a message with you? And then we share like a pretty generic message. We would pray with them. And then we'd say, do you mind if we come back sometime? And of course, we just did all this free service for them. They'd feel obligated because of the implication. They let us come back. And what we were always looking for is somebody who was breaking down. I think about a family from a town called Clarkston, Washington. That was the first place I was a Mormon missionary. And there was a family there who we became really, really close with. The mother had been baptized Mormon when she was young, but she wasn't Mormon anymore. Her kids weren't. She had 2 kids. Her husband also wasn't. But and Mormon missionaries had been like, trying to contact them all the time because we have a list of names. We know who's like on the rolls of the church. So you go and you find these people. We would call them literally part member families. And so we came across this family when we first got there from our notes, and we just happened to meet them the same time that they had one of the parents had lost their I think their dad had just lost his parents. And so they were people who had never really been like overtly religious, and they were in a really vulnerable state, and they had suddenly lost their parents. And that's how we got them to listen to our message. And we said, as soon as we hear that somebody's lost someone, it clicks in our mind like, oh, let's bring up the fact that Mormons believe families can be together forever. Even family members who have already died and who weren't Mormon, you can go to the Mormon temple and you can baptize them. You can do proxy baptisms, and you can baptize them into the Mormon church, even though they're already dead. And they're in the spirit world waiting, so they'll accept that baptism, and then you and your family can live together in heaven. It's a message that appeals to people who are thinking about that, but it specifically appeals to people who are down on their luck. I can tell you the amount of people that I baptized on my mission. I don't know what the number is. It was a significant amount. 90% of those people either had just experienced something very traumatic, or they were very desolate and alone. Maybe didn't have money, didn't have friends. And so what we would do is we would create a community. And we were taught to do this as missionaries, because we would move like area to area, and you're out there for 2 years, but the longest you're going to stay in an area is maybe like 6 months at most. I was in one area for I think actually almost a year in one area, which is highly unusual. But you are taught to bring these people in, find them friends in the church, create a new community for them, make them feel welcome and accepted, make sure that the people in the church take care of them. Then you get them baptized and they're in the community. And I think that that's a great way to like run a community. But the problem is, along with bringing them into the church, you're saying, by the way, to stay in good standing in this church, you do need to give the church 10% of your income. Oh, by the way, in order to stay in good standing in this church, you do need to accept a calling, and you do need to provide free labor for the church. Oh, and by the way, in order to stay in good standing, if you drink, you've got to stop doing that. If you drink coffee, you need to stop doing that. If you are gay, tough luck. You're not getting in. So we would go and we would target people who had experienced traumatic events, and we would bring them in. It was a recruiting tool. And I think that Christianity, a lot of times in the church that I grew up in, any church that proselytizes, any of these mega churches now where they have massive buildings and they have rock shows and light shows and they have a big band, and those pastors are making hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. It's become a business. And that's why you see the bastardization of Christianity. That's why you hear somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene say like a real Christian is really just beholden to the government. That's really what a Christian is.
Number one responsibility of a Christian, and this is a tenet of Christianity for most denominations, it's not about helping people. The number one responsibility of a Christian is to bring more souls to God. So when we were out helping people, it wasn't altruistic. It was us taking advantage of people so we could try and hit a quota.
Bingo.
I guarantee you, a lot of those people that you're watching right now that are very angry and hateful, they also thought when they were younger that Christianity was about helping people and love and all those things. But as they got older and their economic situations changed and they became more vulnerable and a little more scared, their worldview changed, and they used their belief system to justify their new worldview, which is a little bit more based in hate. And you are vulnerable as well. We all are. Unless we take the time to understand how our belief systems can be used against us and stop saying, well, they got it wrong. I've got the right one. Christianity in America has never been about helping other people. I love that people use it as a justification to help people, but you're also vulnerable for it to be used as a justification for many other things, especially if we don't talk about those things. Yeah, I really need people to stop making...
I saw that. I beautifully said. Somebody asked if I was in Washington. I meet up with Wade Cook. No, I just looked who that is. Looks like he's from Falls City, Washington. I don't know. Where's Falls City? Let's see. I'll pull up the map here. Let me switch the view. How do I change the view to... This is Falls City. It's outside of Bellevue. No, so my mission, I was in, it was the Spokane mission. So basically it went from Spokane all the way down here to Moses Lake, and then it went up to, where was that? Where's that little place up there? It went up to like Wenatchee. Where's Wenatchee at? Moses Lake. Oh, Grand Coulee. I went up there. Where's Wenatchee? Isn't Wenatchee up here? Oh, right there. There we go. Went up to Wenatchee, and it extended to like Leavenworth. And then you could go all the way up here, but we didn't really. The furthest I ever went north was Grand Coulee City. And then it went down to, this is Clarkston and Lewiston, Washington. By the way, shout out Clarkston and Lewiston. This is the border between Washington and Idaho. And they have this massive, I think it's right here, paper plant. And the whole city smells like shit. It's I think that's potash, right? And then it went up into northern Idaho. So I was up here in Bonners Ferry, which you can see is pretty close to the border. This is where this is like all Mennonites, KKK, and Mormons. That's everybody that's up here in Little Bonners Ferry. And then we would go up to like Libby and Troy, Montana, which is, I don't know, somewhere over here. Where's Libby and Troy? It's been a while since I've been there. I don't even remember where Libby and Troy are now. Anyways, that was the extent of it. Hey, Jen. Have at it.
I will.
Real quick.
Everyone.
Wait, real quick. I do need to go a couple minutes early because I have a call that starts at 1, so that I have to take. Okay. So we'll have to go like 5 minutes early.
Okay. Okay. I mean, everyone. How I feel. If you guys, your faith, your religion, that's fine. Just don't shove it down our throats. I mean.
Unless the person's into that, in which case you can. Then it's fine.
You consent. So if we're not consenting, I don't consent for that. So anyways, so we've got about 45 minutes left. Yeah. Before we're going to wrap up. Yeah. So the top left-hand corner, I'm guessing that's the current number. We've got a little ways to go to knock out before the end of the show. We'll wrap up here at 12:55 Pacific time. So if you guys could help us out, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, I'll go towards knocking out the rest of that gift goal. Please, if you haven't already subscribed to Twitch, you can do so. You can use the Amazon Prime sub and use Jeff Bezos' money. Please also subscribe to us on YouTube and turn on your notifications so you can get notified when we go live and the other content we have. Or Jay's going to be on later for with the Admir. He's going to be hosting some debates. So if we want to put in some guesses on what's going to be on the menu tonight, that might be a fun thing to do. See what's.
I'm hearing rumors of a 12-pound turkey, and that he's going to finish it in the amount of time we're live. That's the rumor.
Do you think does he eat other types of food?
I don't remember if it was on the live or if it was talking privately. Did he explain on the live like how he eats, how many meals he eats, and how like the way he eats meals? He basically just has 2 meals every meal. Like he gets home for dinner and his wife makes dinner, and then he has like another dinner too. He just always has 2 dinners. It's wild.
I mean, that's a lot of food. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of consumption of food. Yeah. But yeah, so there's if you could subscribe to us on YouTube, go like a video, all that kind of good stuff. If you guys disagree with Jay, JR, I muted because he's just weird. And anyways, how to do that is the Venmo. That right there is JenDub1. That's my Discord username. So if you want to get on to talk to Jay, how you do that is you message me on Discord and I can bring you in to talk. Discord's a free app, not just for teenagers. JR might still be here, but it's lots of people have Discord and doesn't cost anything. So if you want to debate, that's how you do that. Check out our link here for our other socials and our merch. Yeah, and like I mentioned when we first started trying to knock out the rest of that difficult, we'd really appreciate it because this is our job as much as people say it's not. So 2 cowboys are lost in the desert.
All right.
One cowboy sees a tree that's draped in bacon.
A tree?
A bacon tree. A tree that's draped in bacon.
Whoa, Jet.
A bacon tree.
Okay.
We're saved, he says. He runs to the tree and it is shot up with bullets. It wasn't a bacon tree. It was a ambush.
Stupid. You have to go. That's so stupid. Thanks, Jen. Devin said abolish ICE, fuck Trump, fuck Tex. Amy Lynn said in 2018, China had 707 billion in the middle class. That's almost double the amount of people in the United States. We're doing worse than China. Yeah, I think they have that their middle class is bigger than our entire population, from what I understand. I think we saw that stat the other day. All right, this is Representative Austin Scott. Representative Austin Scott is from a state. I don't remember what state he's from. Representative Austin Scott is from Georgia. Oh, good. A lot of Georgia today. Here's him. Now, remember, the Republicans keep telling you that they're not cutting Medicare, that they're not going to cut Medicaid, that they're not going to cut any of these programs. Here is Representative Scott explaining how they plan on cutting Medicaid.
FMAP is the federal medical assistance percentage, and it ranges from 50% in the country to 76.9%. Now, when the Dems expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, they made that percentage match 90-10. So the federal government is paying 90% of the Medicaid expansion. And so what we have talked about is moving that 90% level of the expansion back towards the more traditional levels of 50 to approximately 80% instead of the 90-10, 90% being federal, 10% being state match. And nobody would be kicked off of Medicaid as long as the governors decided that they wanted to continue to fund the program.
So lots of people would be kicked off. That's the thing. Like, you see how we're not cutting Medicaid. We're just going to cut Medicaid funding. And then if your governors don't want to pick up the difference, then yeah, you're going to lose your Medicaid. It's interesting how often they go to states' rights to strip people's benefits away. They're trying to cut Medicaid. Brilliant. And why? Why are we cutting Medicaid? It's paid for. Why are we cutting it? We pay for Medicaid with tax. It is a program that is paid for. Expand Medicaid. The best thing you could possibly do is expand Medicaid, roll it up into Medicare, and do Medicare for all. This is just another handout. This is just another handout to these massive corporations. When Obama ran on Obamacare, and Obama gets eviscerated for this all the time, saying like, you'll be able to keep your doctor. Republicans ran that line of you'll be able to keep your doctor. And Obama's like, no, under my plan, or they said you won't be able to. And Obama was like, under my plan, you'll be able to keep your doctor. Why? Because he was looking at something like Medicare for all, where the government essentially is just paying your bill so you can go to whatever doctor you want. But the Republicans, in order to pass this, they negotiated and they said, how about this? How about, yes, we'll agree to expand Medicaid to 90%, but instead of the government writing the check, we need these big health insurance companies to make all the profit. We still need them to make money. So we're going to take some of these subsidies and we're going to pay these massive health insurance companies profit. They need to profit off this. We can't possibly just pay the bills for the American people. We need to pay the bills through an intermediary who gets to decide how much of that money is actually going to go towards the medical bills. This was a negotiation by the neocons in the Republican and Democratic Party, and of course, the far right Republicans. They said, how could we possibly have a service where nobody's making money off of it? How could we possibly do that? That's how we got to where we are in this scenario. That's how we get to a point where Republicans legitimately are like, Obamacare raised prices. True. Because we allowed the private insurers to be in the marketplace and to get government subsidies. And what did they do with that government subsidy? Did they lower prices? They sure didn't. They sure didn't. They increased the prices. They promised us actually that would keep prices low, and it did. It did keep them lower. Like the rate of growth was lower than it was before. I think before it was. I want to say that health insurance plans were fluctuating 6% on average. Every year it would go up around 6%, and after Obamacare was passed, it went up 3 to 4% every year. So it did help a little bit, but we could have just gotten rid of these health insurance companies, and we could have done Obamacare where the government was paying the check, and you all would be much happier right now with your health insurance, and it would be far cheaper. They're always doing the bidding of the richest among us, and it always hurts you. Whether you're on Medicaid or not, let's just say you're not on Medicaid right now. Let's say that you may never be on Medicaid. What they're saying now is this is all paid for. But now if you're in a state like Georgia, who probably wouldn't fund Medicaid, now you're going to have a lot of people with underfunded insurance. Now you're going to have a lot of people who had health insurance, who could go see a doctor, who can't go see a doctor anymore. And that's going to flood your emergency rooms, and that's going to mean people die. And that means in a few years from now, the constituents of your state are going to come to you and go, what the fuck are we going to do about this? Because I don't think people are just like, everybody will be affected by this. Eventually, somebody's going to have somebody in their family that desperately needs Medicaid, and they can't get it, and they die. We're the richest country on earth, and we're just cool letting people die. We want to gut the programs that work. Meanwhile, the Pentagon hasn't passed a fucking audit in the last 10 times they've had an audit. 10 times, and we're giving them more money. We're cutting money for the programs that work and keep people alive, and we're giving money to all the broken programs. We're giving more tax breaks to the billionaires who are just accumulating all the wealth. They're not passing that money down. I was talking to a friend yesterday about this, about like just the reality of where we're at. There is only one way to fix our problem, and our problem is wealth inequality, and wealth inequality drives prices up. And there's only one solution, and Democrats get this wrong repeatedly, which is why their approval rate is between 20 and 30%, depending on where you're looking at, because they don't ever have the right answer either. And that's why we fucking lose every time. But the reality is, you can't do anything to fix this except changing the tax structure on rich people. And let me explain why. If you tax the rich, and let's say we put a cap on the rich at $100 million, once you have made over $100 million, every dollar is taxed at 90%. So if you make $150 million, $50 million of the $150 million is going to be taxed at 90%. And you have two options with that money. You can pay that money to the federal government via taxes, or when your income approaches $100 million, you can pay other people. If you own a business, you can pay your executives more, you can pay your managers more, you can pay your employees more, you can offer better benefits, you can offer paid leave, you can offer sick leave, you can do all these things. There are a lot of ways you can avoid paying those taxes, but all of those ways have to benefit everybody else. That way works. You might not like that way, but that way works. That's what every other country is doing. That's what China does. That's what all these other countries, we looked at the numbers from Switzerland. In Switzerland, they are, of all the countries in the world, Switzerland has the most money left over per capita to save or to invest. And yet their taxes are significantly higher than ours. Their effective rate is between like 30 and 45%, I think it was. Might be 35 to 45%. That's the effective rate that Switzerland pays. And yet, at the end of the month, even though they pay way more in taxes, they have more money left over. Why is that? Because the government funds expensive things for them. The government funds their health care. The government funds their education. The government funds college education. The government helps subsidize time off. So they're happier, they're healthier, and they have more money left over despite a higher tax rate. It is an absolute lie when people tell you that having higher taxes means you will bring in less money, you will keep less money. If you had a tax rate of 10%, but your bills take up 90% of your money, who the fuck cares that you have a 10% tax rate? Who cares that only 10% of your money is going to the government when you don't have any money left over at the end of the month anyways? It's the only way to work. And here's how this, and here's the example. If you raise minimum wage, if you establish a living wage in this country, but you don't establish a cap, here's what happens. Let's say we make I looked it up. The living wage in America, the average that you would need for a living wage to afford a 2-bedroom apartment and food is about, what was the number? What was that number? I think it was $28 an hour. It's 26 or 28. I should have pulled that up. Somebody can look it up for me. It's between $26 and $28 an hour on average. That's what you would have to bring the minimum wage to. But if you haven't capped the top, and you bring the minimum wage to $28, then the people that own companies are going to say, we're paying more, we want to keep our margins, so we're going to raise the cost of goods. Let's say that you work in a construction company, for example. And let's say you're paying everybody on your teams $15 an hour. So you raise it to $28, and because you want to keep making money, you raise the cost that it costs to build a house. And because you now raise the cost of building a house, the other houses around the house that you built, their value all raises too. And so the bottom comes up, but all the prices go up too. So it doesn't matter. It's not about bringing up the bottom. That will never work unless you go from the top down also. So if we don't put restrictions on how much money people can hoard, then wealth inequality will continue to grow. We're at a stage where, like, just because of compound interest, if nothing changes, wealth inequality will continue to skyrocket. Cutting taxes will accelerate that. Giving exemptions to massive corporations on tariffs will accelerate that. Everything we're doing is accelerating wealth inequality. And meanwhile, the richest among us, who are all in Trump's cabinet, have millions of Americans convinced that we promise, guys, this time when we cut taxes, it's going to make your life better. This time's the time. We've done it since 1982, but this time it's not going to accelerate wealth inequality. Wealth inequality raises prices. The bigger the gap in wealth inequality, the harder it is for the poorest among us to even live. The more difficult it is for the middle class. It's embarrassing how much money some of us make and can barely live. No time for vacations, no time for like extra expenses. It's amazing how many of us work our asses off and can barely live. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, while Tesla's stock price is plummeting, while their revenues are drying up, and while he's in Washington somehow running the federal government, while also running Tesla, while also having time to be one of the greatest gamers in the world, oh, and by the way, tripping on ketamine all the time, gets paid $50 billion from Tesla. They're not working harder. This is just all compound interest, and compound interest will continue to accelerate this wealth gap. There is no argument that lowering taxes will fix this problem. Mathematically, it doesn't work. It relies on you believing that Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk will trickle that money down. You can say boo-hoo all you want, Republicans. You're getting kicked in the dick repeatedly. We all are. And we're going, hey, would you mind if we stopped getting kicked in the dick? And you're like, you guys are such pussies. I love this. I love getting dick kicked. Kick my dick harder, daddy. That's what you're just cucks. It's crazy. You're like, this isn't boo-hoo. This is math. This is a math equation. That's how a lot of our minds work on this side. Ideologically, I want people to pay the least amount of money they possibly can. But more simply, I want people at the end of every month to have disposable income and have the opportunity to do things that make them happy. You have one life. I think most people in America should have disposable income. Ideally, all people in America should have disposable income. But 60% of America doesn't have disposable income, while some Americans literally sent their plastic girlfriend and her friends into space for the fuck of it. Just 'cause. 60% of America can't afford a $500 emergency bill, and one guy's sending his friends to space for the fuck of it. And you guys are saying boo-hoo? Yeah, that's you, Bill. That's you, dude. You're just getting beat up and you love it. Hit me harder, daddy. I appreciate your well-thought-out argument of cry and boo-hoo. I appreciate that. But you're just a dumb guy. You're just a dumb guy vouching for billionaires right now. But get harder, daddy, harder. Smack me a little bit. Call me names. Tell me I'm ugly. Tell me I don't deserve it. That's what they tell you all the time. Elon's like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Oh, really? Really? You have enough, like you had all this, you have money, you had family money. You got into Stanford on a visa that you weren't allowed to work, and then you broke the laws. You were here as an illegal immigrant with your daddy's money, and you used your daddy's money to start a business that was a complete fraud. PayPal bought your business, and within like a year, they realized that your business wasn't even functional, And then they fired you as the CEO of PayPal because you were so bad as CEO of PayPal that they fired you, but they couldn't take away your shares. They just like sidelined you. So you're like, don't worry, I'll go do something else. I'll be really successful. So you go and you do Solar City with your brother, and that fucking fails. And then you buy somebody else's company called Tesla, and you lie and you pretend that you made Tesla, which you didn't do. You didn't create Tesla. There were like 5 other CEOs before you at Tesla. And then when Tesla was growing and they were getting good press, you wrote a letter to the investors and you were like, hey guys, I don't think it's really fair that I'm not being included as one of the main reasons that Tesla's doing great. And they're like, well, yeah, all you did was invest. Like, we're running the company. And then he did a hostile takeover of Tesla. And he basically said, I'm so good at marketing that we don't have to market. Just pay me all the money and I'll market Tesla. And it worked for a minute. It worked for a few years. It worked until Elon Musk got so arrogant and so brazen that he started hurting Tesla. The fact that he is the Tesla brand now hurts him. And you guys are like, oh, why are you guys going after Elon? He's the brand. They don't do commercials. Just like Kanye West, he's like, I'm the brand. So pay me all the money. And just like Kanye West, weirdly, like both of them are just like, I'm a Nazi now. And then their brand tanked. And then they're like, I can't believe you guys are so soft. Like, you chose this, not us. And now he's got Tesla, which is a complete fraud. They're the most valuable auto stock in the country, despite the fact that they are bleeding money and they are the lowest producing. Of all the auto companies in the country, they make the least amount of money, and yet their stock is worth 4 times what Ford stock is. Maybe more than that. Maybe it's 10x. I don't even know where we're at. All because all this Silicon Valley money keeps accumulating because of these loans and because of these bullshit valuations. So now you have this complete, absolute fraud of a company with their stock price. And they're like, we can't get rid of Elon Musk because he is the company. He is the company. This stuff can all exist. And then we're like, hey, dude, why don't you go cut a bunch of money from the federal government for poor people while you're getting billions of dollars from the federal government in handouts? And he's like, yeah, it's these poor people that are the problem. And there's old boy there. What was his name? Who's the Boohoo guy? Where's Boohoo? What's his name again? He's just over there. Harder, Elon. Give it to me harder, Elon. Tell me more how poor people are ruining everything. Tell me more about that, Elon. Our economy is a joke. It's completely fraudulent. The biggest companies on our stock market, almost exclusively fraudulent, held up by loan after loan after loan and VC after VC after VC, and entering at a valuation and exiting at a higher valuation despite revenue not backing that up. It's all speculation. Tesla is the most valuable because people think it's the most valuable. That's it. It's not the most valuable. They just think it is. That's imaginary. Like, that's the definition of imaginary. If there is no actual value and most of their value is just what people think the value should be, by definition, that's fraudulent. By definition, that's not real. And you guys are like, we should give those guys more tax cuts. We should let those guys make more decisions. Meanwhile, like, you're getting closer and closer to poverty. Every single day, the average American gets closer to poverty. And you're here to bootlick for like a handful of billionaires. It's absolutely fucking wild. Let's finish the last 10 seconds.
We are going to ask the states to pick up and pay some additional percentage of the Medicaid percentage.
All right, there we go. So they're going to cut Medicaid so that they can cut taxes for billionaires. That was a long way around that. We got about 20 minutes left. Then I got to get out of here. Where are we at on this gift goal? We're not bad. If everybody that was here sent $1, we'd knock that out real quick. Judith, I didn't see a message with that. If you meant to send a message, send it to Jen and I'll read it. It just a message didn't come through with it. Nick, thanks for joining the Dollar Train. Appreciate it, my friend. I am going to just try and plow through this, so I'm probably not going to watch. I'm probably not going to total this up, but if you guys want to help us reach that goal, that would be wonderful. This was just kind of wild. This is while Democrat, oh shit, that's the wrong one. While Democrats are out here trying to fight for the working people, protesting all over the country, you have Republicans holding holding sponsored Easter events. There's a man named John Strand. I got the wrong link here, so I can't show it to you. He was given an award from the Liberty Council as a person who promotes liberty. He's a Jan 6er. Was convicted of I believe assault as a Jan 6er, and we're out handing them awards. I want to show this. Republicans, you can take off if you want. You're not going to follow any of this. There is a divide in the Democratic Party, and I'm happy to see the divide in the Democratic Party. I don't think the Democrats should be unified right now. I think a lot of different voices should be speaking. I certainly don't think that Hakeem Jeffries is somebody who has the pulse on the Democratic Party. This is an interview with David Hogg. So David Hogg is the vice president of the DNC now. Many of you know him from my as an anti-gun activist, whatever you want to call him, somebody who advocates that we have more restrictions on the Second Amendment. But now he's involved in the party. And I think one thing we have to be honest about with David Hogg is, like, he does have a viewpoint that maybe centrist Democrats don't. And he does represent people that largely feel like they don't have a voice. And I wanted to show this interview. It's really good because it shows the pushback from the middle of the DNC and David Hogg's vision for a new way forward. I tend to agree with him. I actually don't. I kind of find him annoying, if we're being honest. I feel like sometimes he's grandstanding, but I agree with him here.
What you did this week, raising a lot of eyebrows here in Washington, D.C.
Just a few.
You announced this week you're the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee, but you're raising $20 million to boost primary challengers running in safe Democratic seats against incumbent Democrats. Yes, safe
Thank you
seats.
for the clarification.
Yeah, it's causing a lot of stir. We asked James Carville about it the other day. We couldn't get you. We couldn't book you that day for whatever reason.
Rest assured, he's my biggest fan.
Well, so here's James Carville. Here's what he had to say about your idea. Take a listen.
The most insane thing I ever heard is the vice chair of the Democratic National Committee is spending $20 million running against other Democrats. Aren't we supposed to run against Republicans?
What's your response?
What's his plan to deal with our 27% approval rating? That's my question to him. The fact of the matter is, right now, our party is in a crisis. We are seeing people lose faith in our party. They're losing faith in democracy across the country. And we need to make sure that we're getting people to vote for Democrats, not simply because we're not Donald Trump, but because we have a better message, a better option for them. Not simply the less bad of two options, as I think Carville tries to promote when he says, well, we just shouldn't say anything. Carville believes in a politics of being timid, of hiding. I believe in fighting. And
I think it's a good point. Like Carville, just a couple of weeks ago, was like, "Hey, just shut up and let the GOP fuck things up." And I think that's kind of how he's done it. He's famous for saying it's the economy, stupid. I think one thing we need to be really careful of is listening to old talking heads who haven't changed their shtick. James Carville was a progressive like 30 years ago. But that's the thing about progressives, is that if you were a progressive 30 years ago and you haven't changed your views and updated your views for new information, you're just like at that point a conservative, right? Because you're just conserving the old heads, and that's what he wants to do. He likes Nancy Pelosi, he likes Chuck Schumer, he likes those people. He feels like they've been really successful, and they have, but their time is over. And people like James Carville, who think that we're just going to trot out the same old shit and Americans are going to be happy, are out of their fucking minds. Donald Trump didn't do that. Donald Trump didn't go to the Republicans and say, "Hey guys, we're just going to do kind of status quo shit." He went to the further right and he said, "What's pissing you guys off?" And they're like, "Here's what's pissing us off." And they ran on that. And a lot of those things that piss off somebody on the far right are going to piss off somebody in the middle. They're going to piss off people on the left too. And it might be for different reasons. For example, when we talk about Palestine, some of us are upset at Israel because of their treatment for the Palestinians. Some of the people on the far right are upset at Israel because they're Jews. We happen to align. If you had Kamala Harris said, I'm going to, she was running on a ceasefire and forcing Israel to come to the table and have a solution, and say, like, we're going to do a two-state solution. The Palestinians are going to have their country and the Israelis are going to have theirs. You would have found people from the far right switching over. And you would have found a lot of people on the left who were excited to vote. James Carville always wants to just focus on those middle ground people. Somebody tagged me in a video on TikTok yesterday of somebody basically saying that, like, the far left is fucking things up. No, it's not. If you've learned nothing from the last 8 years of Donald Trump, it's that, like, people who have something where they feel is worth fighting for will show up. Even if it's nonsense, they'll show up. If they feel like they're part of a movement, they'll show up. What was the movement Joe Biden created? Exactly what David Hogg said, not Donald Trump. That was Joe Biden's entire shtick. I'm not Donald Trump. And I like some of the stuff Joe Biden did as president. And I like the fact that he was able to reach across the aisle. But that was his message. That message isn't enough. It isn't enough to create change. At best, it's enough to beat Trump. But the thing, we had Joe Biden for 4 years, and he didn't do anything significant enough that it made regular people say, we need to go even further in that direction. It made regular people say, I like some of the stuff he did, but some of this stuff was a bridge too far. And Trump's basically saying the same shit, but he does it with more confidence. So I'm going to go over here with Trump. I had more money before COVID than after, and I'm just going to give Trump credit for that. That's what we run the risk of. I'm with Hogg. You got to go left. You got to go real left. And I mean real left on like the stuff that makes sense. You got to go real left when it comes to healthcare. You got to go real left when it comes to taxation. You got to go real left when it comes to global politics. You got to go real left when it comes to the military. That's where the energy needs to be focused. With all due respect to the conversations that happen, we spend a hell of a lot of time talking about things that affect very few people and are mostly like our own personal beliefs, which the government should have no role in anyways. Government doesn't need to have a role in gender. The government doesn't need to have a role in marriage. The government should stay out of all that shit, and we need to stop arguing about that. But the stuff that really matters to all of us, we spend very little time talking about. And I think that's the opportunity for the Democrats right now, and they have to go left, and they have to talk about things that matter. They have to talk about healthcare. It should be healthcare every single day. That should lead every discussion, is healthcare. Healthcare, healthcare, healthcare.
That is what people want to see right now from the Democratic Party. We just saw an example of that with Senator Van Hollen going to El Salvador to say, we need to meet with this man. And yes, Democrats obviously are in the minority right now, but let's be clear, we cannot win back the majority if we do not convince the American people that our party offers something that isn't just not Donald Trump, but is substantially better than Donald Trump, that fights to lower costs for Americans across the country, whether it's healthcare, housing, or the foundational building blocks of the American dream that feels so out of reach for people, or addressing gun violence. We can't simply just hide, as Carville repeatedly promotes, not to mention the fact that, frankly, he has not won an election since before I was born. I think it's time for some new voices in our party.
Wasn't that long ago. Thanks, Susan and Ann. Let me read this. Jose said, thank you. Benny said, Dollar Train. Thanks, Benny. Jose said, thank you again. Linda said, thank you for all your hard work. Alyssa said, looking forward to debates tonight. Oh, and fuck Tex. Thank you, guys.
You're born?
2000.
Well, I guess that. So anyway, I can hear James Carville's head exploding all the way from New Orleans when you called him timid. And James, you're welcome back on the show next week. And
happy to talk more.
And you can respond. Who are some of the Democrats that you want to primary? Who are some of these people that you think deserve the Democrats to focus on them in their safe seats, $20 million worth?
Well, in particular, right now, what we're hoping with this effort is by announcing this, we can get a lot of them to decide not to run for office again so that this isn't necessary.
Give me one name.
Well, I have to wait to see who retires out there because we don't want to pick unnecessary fights, but we're willing to do that if our approval rating continues to be at this rate, not to mention the fact, yes, we're planning on spending millions of dollars to ensure that we're getting Democrats that are simply, this is not a thing that is just about age. To be clear, there are older people who suck, as we just saw, and there are younger people who suck as well, and people of all ages. Unfortunately, that is not specific to age. We are here to find the most effective young people in our country, truly generational leaders, and replace people that are failing to meet the moment right now that we hope step aside. And in addition to that, we want our frontline candidates to win. Just yesterday, we gave the DCCC.
By the way, that's the longest way I've ever heard somebody say Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I don't think I've ever heard anybody take so long to say two names without saying their names. We know who we're talking about. We're talking about Nancy Pelosi. We're talking about Chuck Schumer. You got to go.
$100,000 is one of their biggest contributors this cycle. And that's because we're not just talking about challenging Democrats in safer seats. We want to support young people that are running in our frontline seats as well to get us into the majority. in the first place.
Give me an idea of two Democrats that you're excited about, that you think of, these are the kinds of people I want more of in Congress.
I want more people like Congressman Maxwell Frost, right, who has helped to lead the charge in Congress against gun violence, helped to push, the former Biden administration to create the Office of Gun Violence Prevention that oversaw in a 2-year period a double-digit reduction in gun homicides. That is remarkable. I want to see more people like AOC who are going out there and fighting, but it's not just progressives as well. Ultimately, I want to see people, even if they're more moderate.
Pelosi's still around. She's just not the speaker anymore.
That are not owned by special interests, that are not taking corporate money, and are here to reform our campaign finance system to give people faith in our democracy. Because Democrats can't just go out there and say, well, we need to fight for democracy over and over and over again, when we don't show why democracy matters, because we don't use it effectively enough by fighting to revive the American dream that so many young people feel like isn't possible. And if people want to support our work, they can go to leaderswedeserve.com.
Until I'm blue in the face, I will say this. There is no argument against certain left-leaning policies that makes any sense. Universal health care and taxing the rich are the two most obvious ways to solve our problems. And the two most obvious ways to level the playing field are the two most obvious ways for America to have a path forward. I said it at the beginning, but like nobody copies what we do. No other country is copying what we do except for like Russia. The only examples of countries who are take that road of taxing the rich less and allowing wealth accumulation like this, they all wind up as oligarchies. What's the difference between an oligarchy in Russia and an oligarchy here? Awareness. Everybody knows Russia's an oligarchy. What's the difference? Elon Musk is in open violation of congressional subpoenas, court subpoenas, rulings. He has so much money that he bought away into the administration, and he has so much money and so much power that he tells the courts, fuck you. That's the stage of capitalism that we're in. We're in the stage of capitalism where people have so much money that they are more powerful than the government. The government is telling them, you must come testify, and they're saying, nah. What's the difference? How's this different than the monarchy that we escaped? The whole reason we came here is so that power wasn't consolidated in a few people's hands. That's the whole reason America exists. Who has real power in this country? Only the billionaires. They took over our space program. They're taking over our military. They took over our health care. The richest among us are literally privatizing our government in front of our eyes, and it's not making our lives better. It's making it substantially worse. But they've sold you on this idea of socialism bad, communism bad, capitalism good. So you're just like, oh, capitalism good, that means this must work out. But why isn't it working out then? We've done trickle-down economics for 50 years. You can point to the parties switching control. You can say that Democrats have had control more than Republicans. Doesn't matter. We've been doing trickle-down economics this entire time. Ever since Reagan, it's been trickle-down economics. Nobody has increased our taxes on the rich to anywhere significant. And even when we do increase the tax rate on rich people, we provide them with so many loopholes that they pay an effective tax rate of like 5%. They are not paying their fair share. It's ironic. The argument has become, they pay more taxes than anybody. Yeah, why is that? Why is it that I pay 30% in taxes and I have virtually nothing to show for it, and somehow they can pay a much smaller percentage of taxes and yet pay way more than I do? How does that happen? Oh, it's because they have all the money. It's the dumbest fucking argument. Yes, they pay the most in taxes. So even at a 5% effective rate, they pay more taxes than we do. That's how fucked up our economy is. The whole point of having money, the whole point of having a monetary system is so money circulates and it makes it easier for people to live. But the money isn't circulating. It's going up, and then it stays up, and some of it falls back down. And as soon as it falls back, it goes right back up. And then it falls down a little and it goes right back up. and falls down and goes right back up. You can't deny that that's how our system is meant to work. That's the design. That's what we've got right now. We have a system that is meant for all money to go up. It is meant for monopolies. It's meant for corporations. All these trade deals, all these tariff wars that we have right now, Trump will grant exceptions to all the rich people, and none of you will get an exception. And so soon enough, you won't have a choice. Oh, I'd like to go to my local grocery store. Sorry, it's gone. I want to support a local business. Sorry, it's gone. I'd like to support local farmers. Sorry, it's gone. Why? Because those local farmers aren't going to be able to sell their goods. But you know who will be able to sell their goods to keep their farms afloat? Massive corporations. They'll be able to sell their goods. They can deal with a few quarters of losses. Most farmers are one bad year away from losing everything. And that's this year. Farmers this year, we will see record numbers of farmers losing their farms. Just like in the last administration last Trump administration, we had record numbers of farmers losing or selling their farms. And they all sell it to the same fucking people. And then you're like, oh, why is our food all fucked up? Oh, I wonder. I wonder why allowing all these massive monopolies to exist who undercut locally owned businesses. I wonder why now all our food's shitty. Oh, because they need that food to be genetically modified. They need that food to be artificially preserved. They need to put things in your food that make the food last longer so they can justify underselling people. So that they've got to eliminate their waste. They need a longer shelf life. So they need to do things that preserve this food so that they can undersell the local market. And then they do. I grew up in a town called Linden. You can look it up. We had 2 grocery stores. We had 3, really. There was like a fruit one. We had Allen's grocery store, which was owned by a guy with the last name Allen. It was Allen's grocery store. It was a family-owned grocery store that had been there forever. That's where we all went. There was a produce place, and it was called Verd's. Verd's was owned by, get this, a guy named Verd. And then we had I'm trying to remember the name of the other one. I can't remember the other one. That's where we all got our groceries. And then Walmart showed up. And we gave Walmart this big subsidy. And we gave them a big tax cut. And Walmart came to town. And within 5 years, those grocery stores all 3 of them were gone. But you know what else went under? Little mom and pop tire shops that did oil changes, that sold tires. Because we got a super center. So now that oil change that might have cost you $50, you could get it for $40 at Walmart. And Walmart didn't give a shit if they lost money on that. Because while you were waiting 4 hours, because the service sucks at Walmart, you're in Walmart spending money. And so it crippled all these mom and pop businesses. And the reality is most of them didn't have an option to sell it to somebody else. So they just went under. The very few, like a couple of the tire companies were able to sell. And now they're part of like a big chain. But this is what we do with capitalism. We have eroded the American dream with capitalism. Unchecked capitalism. Why does our government give subsidies to Elon Musk but not you? Why is it that the food, like watching food trucks spring up was really interesting. Food trucks were like this is what 10, 15 years ago when those got big. That was the first like real sign that Americans were fed up. Like every corner was a fucking Applebee's or a Chili's or a Texas Roadhouse or a cheesecake factory, and it was just chain after chain after chain after chain, and people are like I don't. And then those chains, like they started out good, and then they take in all this venture capital money, and then they're like shit, we need to cut costs. So what are we gonna do? We're gonna have frozen food now. Our food's it's not gonna be locally sourced. It's gonna be frozen. It's gonna be sourced from one particular place. We're going to have a distribution chain. And then all of a sudden the food was shitty. So food trucks started popping up. And then cities went and they'd given these subsidies to places like Applebee's. And then cities started restricting, like, oh, you can only have food trucks on certain nights at this place. You can't just park your food truck on the side of a road. We've got to put you all in a place together. And then you're going to compete with all these other food trucks right there. That's what they did where I live. You can only have food trucks in like a handful of places. Why? Because the corporate interests, these people all these venture capitalists who had spent, hundreds of millions of dollars investing in places like Chili's. They're like, oh, fuck, we're getting beat. And our government always steps in. Our government always steps in for the richest. They'll step in for McDonald's. They'll step in for Burger King. They'll step in for Chili's. They'll step in for Applebee's. They'll step in for Walmart. But who won't they step in for? You. There's no incentive for them to step in for you. The only people in their ears are the people constantly saying, more tax breaks, more tax breaks, more tax breaks. And they're like, okay, yeah, we'll just do it. This government doesn't stand for you, and that's what I'm excited about with David Hogg, is that, like, that's the messaging that needs to go out. Smiths, thanks, Jen. There was Smiths, but that's like a chain now. Let me check messages real quick, and then I do need to get out of here. If you have any messages to send, get them in now. Whew. Jen, don't quit. Please don't quit. Please don't quit, Jen. We'll make it up tonight. All right. I'm sorry I was late, and I'm sorry I'm leaving early. I was late for the same reason that I'm leaving early, and that's all I can say, but I will have an announcement either tonight or tomorrow, I believe. I don't want to overpromise on that. I've been told that I can't talk about this yet. I will be able to talk about it soon. So sorry to leave you in the dark on that. I do need to get going. As a reminder, you can follow us on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter. We'll be live tonight with Admir at 5:45 Pacific on TikTok, and Jen will be streaming it here and on Twitch as well. Jen, if you'll remind me to like pull up the YouTube and Twitch chat while we're live so I can watch it. I keep forgetting to watch the chat when we're live, and it's on, like, when it's on the tripod, I don't see the chat in TikTok. So if you want to interact, hang out on YouTube or Twitch when you're watching it, and I'll interact with you guys. That way you can send me sources and stuff too, and I won't feel like I'm ignoring you. Jamie, thank you. Said great show. For everybody else, Jen, do we have a raid set up by chance? Do you know if Bree has a raid set up? Jen, oh, Bree says yes. Bree, will you drop the name in the chat one more time? I'm sure you already have, but drop it in the chat so I can read it. Red Cyber Dragon 29. We're going to raid Red Cyber Dragon 29. I'll see you guys there. I'll see you guys in a couple hours. Thank you so much for all the support. Stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.